3 City FM and face-to-face on Channel 1 Television, Umaru Sanda Amadu. Sanda, good morning.
Good morning, Nana.
I trust you're well.
Very well. You good?
I am well. I am well. Call to duty, so we are here.
Yes. But it's an exciting one. So
yes. But Emmanuel Bajira also has a duty to perform. He's chairman of that special committee.
His duty is a very big one. I feel saddened, and I hope that this morning to be reversed that the minority side has withdrawn its members. I am really hoping that that does not happen, because usually Parliament they do things jointly, and so they elect numbers from here, numbers from here, come together and form this committee. But to hear the opposition or the minority saying that they are withdrawing their people, I think is very sad, and I think they should rescind that decision immediately, because you see, because of the numbers that NDC has in Parliament, they can do business without NPP.
Exactly.
But I think they are meeting each other halfway. And I think when they are meeting you halfway, so there's something called good faith. And I think that good faith should not allow them to do what they are doing. It's like bad faith, what they are actually doing, where they are withdrawing. I mean, what is the point? You are going to sit there and be heard, and then a decision will be made.
Exactly.
So I don't understand why they would decide to withdraw. For me, that's the saddest part for me on this committee.
And if they should go ahead and withdraw their members from the committee, are they stopping their members also from attending to the invitation of the committee?
That's another thing. You cannot stop the members from attending, because the committees have powers of subpoena. They have powers of the court. So if they invite you and you don't show up, they will let the police bring you. Right. So you can be subpoenaed, which means you'll be compulsorily brought, which means you can be arrested and brought there. So if you cannot prevent persons from being invited, and you can also not prevent your members from being sanctioned if they are found to be culpable, then what's the point? Rather, be there so that you can guide your people who would be invited and also contribute to the discussion. Because this is like a court. And then they say you are allowed to, you are free to be a member of the jury, and you say you do not want to do that. I think it is not helpful for them.
Last time the committee sat, it ended abruptly. We were told that they had to suspend sitting indefinitely. Later, chairman of the committee was on the Channel 1 newsroom, and he said emphatically that really the directive did not come from the speaker, who had set up the committee.
I found that very odd listening to it.
Quite odd.
Why? Okay, how do committees of Parliament communicate? Do they do WhatsApp messages, or do they go through the clerk? So he said I was a clerk who told him that they should adjourn, and that the clerk, when he eventually called Bagbin, Speaker Bagbin said, no, I didn't say that to the clerk. Now, is this the same clerk, or this is a different clerk? Okay, it will not be the appointments committee clerk.
No,
maybe
this will be
the
the clerk to Parliament.
This will be a different. Okay. Oh, it's Sojatroy himself. I would find that very odd that a committee as important as this one would be sitting, and the clerk would come and tell the chairman that Mr. Speaker said we should adjourn when Mr. Speaker has not said so. Because I think Bajira would adjourn if the clerk says, because the clerks are like the producers. As we sit here, you are doing this show, you have a producer in the control room who dictates to you how many minutes you are supposed to allow me to talk for, when you should switch to Parliament and all of those things. So when the clerk comes to tell the chairman that let's adjourn, I think it's in order that they do. It's just surprising and strange that it would turn out that the chairman was misled by his clerk. I find that unbelievable.
It's quite
strange. And it also sounds very absurd. And I'm hoping that this morning when Bajira speaks, he will address that. The clerks usually don't communicate. In fact, the only day the clerk ever speaks is on the midnight of January 6 into the dawn of January 7, where he presides over the new Parliament and helps elect speakers and all of those things. After that, they become quiet. So I don't know how we are going to hear from the clerk as well, but I think we should hear from both sides, because this cannot work, considering that you are coming to fix chaos, and you yourself, you are chaotic. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, we cannot sit here and speculate or conjecture, but earlier we had heard reports suggesting that the clerks feel threatened, and we don't know if we can draw a line from there to infer that it is for this reason that the clerk made such a move. But we also heard threats that the clerk was going to withdraw his members from all committee sittings.
The clerk?
The clerk.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm wondering if this was a protest against how the minority had described the clerk to the appointments committee, and if indeed it was a protest, had same been communicated to the House that the clerk was protesting the allegations made against the clerk to the appointments committee? I don't know.
But why would the clerk be... Okay, the clerk system is under the speakership. The highest authority in parliament is the speakership, headed by the speaker. Then there's, of course, there's a board. There's a parliamentary service board, which I believe is higher than the speaker. Now, under the speaker, they have the parliamentary service, and all of these people are in there, the clerks, the marshals, and all of these people. I would be surprised that the clerk decides that he's withdrawing his people without the say-so of the speaker. Especially when the speaker has publicly condemned the action against the clerk to the appointments committee. And I think I have seen publications that Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin has apologized to the lady.
On the floor of the House.
So after that, I'm not sure what exactly they want again. Unless they want to sue Afenyo-Markin, then you can go ahead and see why you do your work. But if you were withdrawing, then or boycotting, you would have boycotted because no action has been taken. But the highest man in the House, the Speaker, has condemned what has been done to your member. The man who did it has apologized. I mean, even Vomawo, who allegedly impugned the integrity of the whole Parliament, when he came and apologized, they let him go. So I don't see this withdrawal bit. It doesn't... I think that there's more clarity that we have to get because, like I said, you have been set up to fix confusion or to solve chaos. You shouldn't be engaged in chaos yourself.
Sorry to cut you, but the committee is ready now. They just played a video from the happenings of that night, and so the chairman has the floor now. Let's go over to Parliament and follow the proceedings of that special committee.
Sammy say he'll come at 10:30.
11:30.
10:30.
But it's 10:50.
Yeah, so when the time comes, 10 minutes. I'll inform them 10 minutes, 10 minutes.
No problem. No problem.
So I
Ladi Ayamba,
solemnly affirm
solemnly affirm
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall
be the truth,
the
whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable colleague. Please, can you take your seat? Honorable Ladi Ayamba, we saw a lady in the video who stood up and was raising her hand. Can you identify whether you were the person who was in the video?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Precisely so, I was a person in that video.
Can you tell this committee what really happened on the 30th of January 2025, as well as 31st, morning of the 31st January 2025?
Mr. Chairman, on the third day, we were supposed to have actually started proceedings. I'm a member of the committee, so I was really there at the pre-sitting. We were supposed to start at 9 a.m. But we were informed by the chairman that the ranking member, that is the minority leader, Honorable Afenyo-Markin, has said that he was having a meeting, and so he can only be available at 10 a.m. So if we could all get to the vetting room by 9:45, so that when we settle down by 10, we will start. We all were here, all we members of the vetting committee. Unfortunately, by 10, they were not, none of the minority members were here, including he, the minority leader, who had given the time as 10. So the chairman pushed the time ahead to 10, about 10:23, 25, thereabouts. And we started. However, unfortunately, just as we started, they came in. And what I saw was a straightforward attack without any provocation on the clerk to the committee. That is the lady by name Gifty Jage. And all that
attacked
was
by who?
by the minority leader, Honorable Afenyo Markin. In fact, I couldn't contain myself because as a woman and knowing very well that at least there was no provocation, I wasn't comfortable. But it continued for a while, so I had to stand up because that was when they said, and coming from the minority chief whip, that the vetting would not be done that day. So I stood up and I said, why will the vetting not be done? Because most of those whom I was facing actually were not members of the committee. They had only, I think, come in as observers or subject matter members. So why will we not have the vetting?
You said members that you were facing.
Yes, most of them.
Most of them were
yes,
not members.
Yes, they were not members of the vetting committee.
Were they from both sides of the house?
No, those I was facing, they were not from both sides because I sat to the left just as I am sitting now, while they were on my right side as I am sitting now.
When
so
you say
most
they,
of them,
can you
the
identify?
minority.
Okay.
And we, the majority, on my left side as I am sitting now. So persons like Honorable Befi, one of those who was suspended, Alaji, forgotten his name. He's from the north, but his name has skipped my mind. I think they were actually facing me, including the deputy minority whip and some others. They were all seated when the order came. And I walked up. I said, you are saying you are tired. In fact, that is why you could see me using my hands. If you say you are tired, it's not a problem. What you should do is to leave so that we, those who are not tired, if we form a quorum, then we go on with the vetting. But you don't come into the middle of the vetting when someone is even seated and you say we shouldn't. I don't think that is fair. So you would have heard one of them, and that is precisely the minority chief whip, saying that they won't go, they won't leave, they will disrupt. And I said, no, you don't need to disrupt. You don't need to disrupt. You simply have to go. If you are tired, even in the chamber, it is that when you are tired, you leave, and those who are there, once this is a committee, if we have a quorum, we continue. Then the chairman gave an order to the clerk, who had already administered the oath on the nominee. So when he gave the order, because of the scaring of the attack on her, she refused. She couldn't get up. So I was encouraging her. That is why you would have seen that I turned and I was telling her, get up, give the, you are supposed to listen to the chairman and not to any other person. So administer the oath. Why are you sitting down? Stand up and administer the oath. You are supposed to listen to the chairman and not any other person. Then the swearing, the English would call that one swearing. I mean, use of unsavory words and all those things started. You are an NDC. You will see who will deal with you if you are a whole host of words. So I stood up. I said, no, you can't go that way. You can. What is the problem of this lady? Please, you people should stop this. Now, I was also trying as much as I can to let the leader understand that as a leader, in fact, I made that statement to him. It's just that maybe my voice was not loud enough. I made that statement to him. I said, as a leader, you are not supposed to go that way. Don't be attacking the lady. Because I've not seen what the lady has done. Please, can you stop that as a leader? leader, please. So those who have been observing me when I sat back, you will see I was looking at his direction. But it wouldn't end. Now the order had come, and we all had to stand again, because while we were seated, they decided, and the first person to lift a chair after giving an order that they should call in their people was the minority chief whip. So when he gave the order that they should call in their people, one thing we should note is that this Jerry had also come in to where the nominee was and was saying that he will not be vetted. So the other crowd behind the nominee also stood up against him. Now, when they stood up and he was the only one here, he moved back. But unfortunately, the minority leader, the minority whip, had already lifted the chair and put it on the table. And Honorable Befi also lifted the second chair and put it on the table. Then they started pulling. When the order came from the minority chief whip, Muntutu cables no, Mungi table, Muntutu cables no, Mungi your friend saying tables no, and so on and so forth. So they started pulling. But because we were at the other side and the table is divided as you have seen, we held on to our tables and we were seated. Now, by what order or by what dint, and once that action was taking place, I don't know, Aziz now passed behind and came to the middle and helped in pushing the tables away.
Who is Aziz?
Jerry.
Okay.
And
you mean Honorable Jerry?
Honorable Jerry.
Second deputy minority whip.
Minority, not Jerry John Rawlings.
Okay.
So they started lifting the tables. While they were lifting the tables, the second table from your place was being taken care of by some other members of Goodwill who said that they shouldn't destroy government property. They shouldn't destroy public property. So they were holding on, while the marshals at the back also were trying as much as they
can. Will you be
can.
kind enough to tell this committee who were those members who requested
The names, Mr. Chairman, they are new members. I think Jackie, is it Gakwe? Gakwe was one of them. There's another young man. He came in yesterday, but he's a new face.
Okay, Honorable Kofi Ntekunu.
Yes, he was also there. They were those who were trying as much as they can to stop the disruption. But with the help of Honorable Jerry in the middle, they lifted.
Honorable colleague, do you want to look at the video again, or you are okay?
No, I think I'm okay.
Okay.
So, in that light, I said, look, what you people are doing is not the best. It's not right. It's not good at all. So, at the end of the day, well, what really happened was an eyesore. While some of the officers, I think the police officers, were trying with the marshals to pull the speakers back, they were also pulling out, leading to the destruction or the spoiling of the speakers that you saw there. And because they lifted the table, and I think something along the line, because I was not really at that place,
okay,
might have happened, and then the leg of one of that table, the very first one where you are sitting, was broken. So the police and others, as you could see here, actually had no option than to help in carrying the table out. So I think that it was a very bad sin. It was not something good for us. And sometimes we need to be conscious and careful of the fact that although we are here as MPs, we owe it to the people of Ghana, especially our constituents. And I will use this, your medium, to urge each and every one that we should be very careful in dealing with those that we are working with who are not members of parliament, especially the women, the police, the marshal's office. They respect us a lot, they fear. So sometimes some of the things, they are not, I mean, it's out of respect, not fear. If I say fear, it's just lack of a better word. So we need to know that sometimes they are not able to react as we think. I am saying this because someone can say that, but what were the marshals doing? Meanwhile, the chamber too was sitting. So they were
we'll
busy
get
there.
to the marshal.
So I am just using the
Thank
video.
you so much for narrating what you saw on that day. Colleagues, do you have any question for the honorable witness?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. Hadia, you watched the video and you saw what happened. You have also given us an account by yourself. Now, we saw you stand up, and from the account that you have given, would you say that you did not participate in the scuffle at all?
Thank you, Chairman. I will say I did not participate in the scuffle at all because you could easily hear what I was saying. And if you are a leader, the best thing is to remind others about what to do if you think that you are not happy or comfortable or ready to work. And so that was what I was doing.
Thank you. I'm okay with that answer, the second one. And so, were you disappointed with the scuffle which was going on?
I was actually disappointed because where it started from, that is from the minority leader, Honorable Afenyo Mankin, followed by the minority chief whip. It was not the best. They are the leaders of that that group, and they are those who are supposed to urge their persons to be patient. But it started all from them. And once the leader starts, the others are compelled many a times to follow what the leader was doing. So I wasn't happy at all.
Okay, that will be all for now.
Yeah, Honorable Zaneto.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable colleague, there was one person you mentioned that was saying that they should not destroy the property, the public property. You couldn't remember the name of the person, but if we showed you a picture, would you be able to identify the person just for the avoidance of doubt?
Yes, I hope so.
Mr. Chairman, could the clerk possibly show a photo of the specific name you mentioned so she can confirm whether that's who she's referring to? The name that Honorable Chair mentioned was Emmanuel Intekuni. So if you find the picture, can you find out from the Honorable Member whether she recognizes the person? Is it Bono East? Yeah. Bono East. No. It's Prue West. I'm sorry.
Bono East, yeah. Bono East.
Intekuni is, yeah, but specific constituency.
Yeah. Can you confirm whether that's the gentleman?
No. Yes, he is. Thank you, Chairman. He is, because yesterday he was here and you spoke to him.
Yeah. Okay. We'll be inviting him again because we also saw him, pulling the chair back or pushing the chair back. So he will be here again tomorrow to come. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other question? Honorable Zaneto. Or Honorable. Okay. Honorable.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to find out the nominee who was in the chair by then, when the incident happened.
Honorable Akando was the one in the chair.
So when it happened, the oath had not been administered yet, or yeah.
Mr. Chairman, the chairman of the committee had just said that the oaths will be administered when the minority leader came in and the incident started. So the oath had not yet been administered. So that led to my getting up and telling the lady that she had been told to administer the oath by the chairman. And she has to listen to the chairman, not to what the ranking was saying, because she's supposed to listen to the chairman. So you could see I turned and I was looking here and telling her she should administer the oath.
So, security on that very day, would you recommend that we need to improve upon security, especially events like that in Parliament here?
It is very important to improve on security, but suffice me to say, we need to be conscious ourselves. We have to be our own security. And just as I have mentioned, even if you bring, excuse my language, the most conscious police officers and what have you here, and we do not support them to keep up security, it wouldn't work, because at the end of the day, that respect that they accord us, they may not be. Otherwise, the police officers who were here were many. The second form by which we can, I will say, improve on our security is reducing the number of persons who will come in. Now, the third, I will say, is that those who come in here, if the committee members are 11, they should be 11, while the subject matter members, 2 each, that is 4, making it 5, should be the only ones. So that when there is an incident, nobody is taken as an outsider or haven't come here to cause a problem. But last but not the least is that leaders of both sides, minority and majority, should try as much as we can to hold ourselves to the fact that once you are leading, you don't encourage mayhem or problems. If we do it that way, then it will help us.
Honorable Hajia Ladi Ayi Ayamba, we thank you for attending upon this committee. You are honorably discharged. And if you have any question again, we'll call upon you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman, for having me. I'm grateful.
The next witness, we will take Honorable Tibless. Honorable Tibless, you do not watch the video. You did? Okay. So we'll take you and then we'll go straight to the marshal. 10 minutes, honorable members. Can you administer the oath?
I, John Oti Kovna Bless,
Swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this
that the
committee
evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall be the truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Honorable John Oti Bless, we saw you in the video. No, we saw a gentleman in the video who looks like you. Can you confirm to this committee whether you were the one and what you were doing there on that fateful day?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was the one.
So can you confirm to this committee, because the list that we have for members of the appointment committee, your name wasn't there. You were there as a member of parliament. What were you doing there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, as usual, I was there to solidarize with some of our colleagues, a brother, Joseph Nengpe, and Kofi Adams, who happened to be a member of my regional caucus. So I was there to solidarize with them.
So can you tell this committee what you saw on that day? Please summarize it for us, because we have a lot of witnesses today.
Chairman, this is a straightforward matter. What I saw was that the ranking member for health, that is on the MPP side, and another Mpre, that is the minority chief whip, they all initially wanted Akando to be vetted.
Sorry, can you tell us who the ranking member of health is so that we can?
Well, I don't know his name. He's a TikTok member. I think he was the chairman, and now he's now the ranking member for health. He and another Mpre, and most of the minority side wanted Akando to be vetted.
Can you identify him in the video?
Of course, I definitely.
So we'll play the video for you to identify him in the video.
Okay. If there are pictures. I saw the clerks holding a book of a document with pictures. So
that's for new members.
Oh, okay.
We don't have the old ones here. Is it Dr. Efriye?
I think so. I think he's a doctor, a medical doctor. He's the one.
So we want to play the video for you too. Please, can you play the video for the witness to see whether he can identify? You can't find him, eh? Okay. So if you are not able to find him, we will get to know who the ranking member, because now we don't have the committees in place. So we'll find out who was here on that day from the minority side. Yeah. Now, can you continue with your...
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think the Dr. Afriye, I think he's the one. He was the chairman for the health committee when they were in power. So definitely, now that they are in opposition, he is going to be the ranking member. Before the incident started, he actually walked to Afenyo, and I was watching them. He came to plead with Afenyo to allow Akando to be vetted, and Afenyo stopped him. He actually snubbed him. Yes, he snubbed him. And the minority whip, Anodombre, also wanted Akando to be vetted, but my minority leader rejected their request and said whatever will happen was going to happen. And I was watching them. So, Mr. Chairman, this is a simple and straight matter. All the things that happened that day is or was caused by the minority leader. Why am I saying this? A leader who watches or stands for his subordinates or members to vandalize, destroy public properties without uttering a word, without stopping them, is as guilty as the members. Because you know, Parliament, we take instruction for our leadership. MPs will respect our leadership. Whatever your leader will tell you.
Well, you cannot pass judgment for us. This committee is to do its work. So that is your opinion. Members of this committee will sit down and then come out with our opinion and report. And then you can have the opportunity to debate their report. Okay? Yeah. Thank you. Continue, unless you don't have anything to say.
Yes, like I said, it's a straightforward matter. What I saw was that the minority leader instigated his people to misbehave. It's as simple as that. If we all want the truth, this is nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, do you have a question for Honorable Otibles?
Honorable Otibles, you said you were there. Did you participate in the scuffle that went on?
Mr. Chairman, no. I was more or less an advisor. I advised most of them to desist from that. Otibles is not a violent person. I believe in the truth and protecting whatever belongs to the people.
And so, you did not pull anybody, you did not push anybody, you did not pull any furniture, and you did not push any furniture?
Not at all, Mr. Chairman.
That will be all for now.
Any other question?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable colleague, you mentioned that the minority chief whip wanted Honorable Akando to be vetted, but the video shows him, you actually hear what he said on the video about that the hearing would be disrupted. So was this something that you were saying based on what was spoken publicly, or is this private?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minority leader got involved, my minority whip, chief whip, got involved based on the instruction from his leader, Appenyo Markins. I saw Appenyo telling them that they should all listen to him and take his instruction. He told them. That was when he got involved.
Thank you. I'll just repeat my question. The assertion that the minority chief whip wanted Honorable Akando to be vetted, was that something that was spoken of in a public setting?
Not at all. It was privately before. It was between him and his leader, Appenyo Markins.
So, a follow-up. Were you there? Did you hear him, or it was a conjecture?
Mr. Chairman, I heard him. I was rightly very close with them when they were talking. Okay. And Appenyo said, no way, you people should stop it. Listen to me and take instruction from me. I watched them.
Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have a video to support that. So this is your witness statement. So we'll take that and ask further questions. Any other?
Thank you, Vetch. Let me ask you whether the instruction that the leader gave to the ship included the pooling and all those things. Did you hear that?
Mr. Chairman, that is why I rightly said that a leader who stands for his subordinates or members to destroy, to misbehave without cautioning, without taking action, or without stopping them is as guilty as those who were involved in the act.
Yeah, I asked the question because we all heard some of the statements that came from the whip, minority whip. But as to what you heard, at least it wasn't very loud enough. So that was why I was asking whether that instruction also came from the leader, as to whether they should be pulling the chairs, they should be destroying the cables and other things, because that was so very audible when we listened to the video from the minority chief.
Mr. Chairman, once the leader advised that what was going to happen was going to happen, and so it means that whatever happened was endorsed by the leader.
Honorable colleague, could you answer just yes or no? Did you or did you not hear? Did you hear the minority chief whip giving the order for the tables to be pulled?
So the question was, did you hear the minority leader telling the minority whip to advise or instruct his people to pull the chairs? Yeah. Yeah, that was it. Yes or no?
Yes, he did.
You heard him?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Honorable colleagues, if there are no further questions, Honorable Otibles, thank you for attending upon this committee. If there are any clarification, we'll call upon you. You are honorably discharged. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having me.
The deputy, the Marshal of Parliament to take a seat. After that, we have a Minister of State designate who will have to rush out for some other equal important duty. And so after the Marshal, I'll beg my colleagues to allow the Minister to,
I, Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Kofi Ofosu,
swear by the Almighty God.
Swear by the Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
Touching the matter in issue.
Touching the matter in issue.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Kofi Ofosu, retire, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
The Marshal of Parliament. The video that you watched, can you identify with that video and whether you were here on that fateful day?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I identify with the video and I was here for that period.
Can you tell this committee what really happened on that day from your perspective?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Marshal outfit is responsible for security and safety of Parliament, which includes the precinct, Right Honorable Speaker, leadership, members of Parliament, even those who visit Parliament, and other stakeholders. On the day of the vetting of some of the nominees, 30th January for that matter, we were overwhelmed with a lot of visitors on the compound, on the corridors, even on the floors. And so around 9:45 p.m., I was right outside this corridor, managing the visitors that were supporting the nominee that had just been vetted, and those who are also coming to support the next nominee. That was when I heard shouts and altercations in the committee room. So I quickly rushed in to find out what was going on. When I came in, at this side, I realized there were two honorable members who were almost at each other's throat. So I quickly moved from that side, passed my way through the crowd and then came in to separate them and try to push one honorable member to go to where his seat is. By the time we got there, we realized there was a chair on the table, and other members were on their feet, others pushing the table, others pulling the table. So I went behind the chairman to offer protection for him at that time. Then the minority leader and the majority leader started having a conversation. So they went out. They went out for further consultation. And by the time they were to come back, I realized that the table at that corner had been lifted. We tried to help it down, but before we realized, it had been turned to the side and the legs were forcibly removed. It was at that point that I realized that we had to take that table out so that we can keep sanity in this committee room. So the table were lifted out, and then the majority leader came in, tried to cool down tempers, and then eventually he could not talk on the mic, on the console, because some of them were damaged. We quickly had to advise him that the consoles are not working. And so he now mentioned that sitting cannot go on because the consoles are not working. Whatever we are going to be said here has to be captured by the media. And if the consoles are not working, it will be difficult for the media to get to know. So we had to adjourn for the next day, and that was the only time that we were able to escort members out of this chamber. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Since you are the marshal of this precinct and this institution, my colleagues have a lot of questions for you, so I will allow them to ask the question, and then I will come in. Honorable Isela.
Thank you very much. Can you take us through your typical responsibility within these premises? Let's say during the vetting process, for example. What is your typical responsibility in these premises? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As I said earlier on, we are primarily responsible for security and safety of the precinct of Parliament, as well as the Right Honourable Speaker, members of Parliament, the staff, other stakeholders who visit Parliament. So our activities cut across checking people at the compound, checking people in the vetting room, controlling the crowd, and controlling all those who are participating in the vetting process.
Thank you. So if you see two honorable members literally at each other's throat, would you come in with the force to separate, or you'd... because by being here for a while, I realize that you're a bit diplomatic in some of your actions. Would you literally tear them apart?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that's the first thing we do. We try to come in between them to separate them. They are honorable members, and we can't throw ourselves at them trying to put them on the ground. But diplomatically, we try to separate them and tell them that you are on TV or the whole world is looking at you. Honorable, don't do that. Don't do that. So we try to separate them. If they go beyond by hurting each other, then we can come in to take them apart and take them out of the precincts.
In view of what happened during... Okay, so since I came to Parliament, there have been a few instances where we have gotten a bit aggressive. Don't you think that it's time that maybe the Marshal's Department even does some reorientation for honorable members? Do you advise something like that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a point in the right direction. We started with the members who were just elected into Parliament. We did their orientation. We were there to have a chat with them, and then we gave them all the security orientation and protocols that they need to do whilst in Parliament.
Some of the new members were actively in the... Yes, just from the orientation.
And they were involved in that scuffle.
Very actively involved. Do you think that maybe there was something left that maybe has to be, recapped or otherwise? But in the generality of it, what do you think we should do from your perspective towards this? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think that day, in perspective, whatever issue was at stake was what they were looking at. They even didn't look anything about security. And that is what may have happened, that some new members were even going overboard. But what I think going forward we should do is that we can all take our security as a personal responsibility. How we talk to each other, how we relate to each other is something that we should look at so that there can be decorum between us as members of parliament, even staff, and all stakeholders who come here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Marshall, when the scuffle started, you were first there. And then from the video, we saw that police people subsequently came into the vetting room. And they also came to either assist you or to support you maintain law and order. My question is, at what point do we invite the police into either the chamber or the vetting room? At what point, in order to avert what we saw? Because if indeed, I just want to, if indeed we were not, let me put it this way, we were just very fortunate. Otherwise, probably by the time that the police people would have come in, worse things could have happened from what we saw. So at what point do you invite them in to come and support you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think what we do first is that we, the marshals, now enter to assess the situation and see whether it's something that we can handle by ourselves. Some of our colleagues were in civilian clothing, so maybe members did not recognize, but we were all in. And when we realized that it was now becoming an uproar, both sides were up. That is when we informed the police commander, and then the police came in so that we could avert the situation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. That will be all for now.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. On the specific day when this occurred, you mentioned that you were trying to manage the crowd in the corridor. Was this the first time the building had been overwhelmed with crowds when it's time for vetting?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have had such experiences before, but it wasn't up to this level at this time. We realized that there were too many visitors who had come to support the nominees. So this time around, it was a bit more than what we could actually handle.
Were you at any point, did you raise your concerns with either the chair of the committee, with the clerk, or with whoever is the relevant reporting authority? Did you at any point raise your concerns with regards to the number of people attending the vetting?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We raised those concerns with the chairman and even the clerk. And that's what made us to reduce the numbers of seats behind us. We usually had the full set, but we reduced it to 10. But some of the visitors that come, for instance, a paramount chief will come, the entourage alone is more than 12. And so it was difficult for us to manage the crowd. A lot of people were standing because the seats we provided were 10. But then they come in and the other entourage will all come and stand behind them.
Do you have any standard operating procedures for what to do in the event that any chaotic situation happens in Parliament?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do.
In the event that something like this happens, must you be called in to activate it, or do you have the authority to go ahead and activate whatever these operating procedures?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We operate on the orders of the Right Honorable Speaker. And so when we are called in, we are alerted, then we activate the standard operating procedures.
On the specific day when this event occurred in this room, were you called in?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we were called in, and that is when I came in to assess the situation. We realized that it was beyond the two of us, and then we asked the police to come in to help us maintain security and safety within the committee room.
At the time this incident was happening, was the corridor being evacuated and were people being asked to leave the room, or were you simply trying to maintain some kind of order?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think at that point, we were all in this room. The corridor was rather being packed. Other people who were watching it on TVs and other places were all now coming in to come and see what was going on. So the room was being filled as the time goes on. But we had our men outside who had blocked the gates so that other people will not come in. But the corridors were getting full from people who were already outside.
Based on the invitations, we were informed in one of the hearings that the maximum number of people that any nominee was to bring, I believe, was 10. Did you have any system in place to monitor who was allowed to be in here and who was not?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The committee chairman had informed us that it's only 10 people that are allowed, and they have been given invitation cards. And so we have a system in place outside. We inspect the invitation card before you are allowed to enter. So that was the system that we were using.
Is that to say that everyone who was in the room had an invitation card on the day?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly not. Other people were brought in by other members of Parliament.
In retrospect, or perhaps looking forward, what suggestions would you make regarding how the rooms are populated, how the building is made accessible moving forward as a lesson from what we witnessed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe moving forward, it behooves on us, the nominees, to communicate same to our people, that we have been given a restricted number of invites. If it is 10, we agree with the 10, and we'll make provisions for the 10. If anybody there's spillover, they can be asked to be in their offices or in other places that has been designated for that, and leave the committee room for the 10 that have been invited. That place we can be able to ensure cooperation and security within the committee room.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
There's a follow-up question here, so allow.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question. Much as you mentioned the number 10, at the last time when I came, I counted the seats just to have an idea of the number of people in the room out of curiosity. And there were about 60. There are 2 on this side, 2 rows on this side, 3 or 4 in the middle, and also 2, and multiplying by the number, I saw at least 60 because I was curious to see how many people could we accommodate at a time. And at first, during the appointments committee sittings, we would not allow people to be standing in the alleys. Now we seem to have allowed people to be standing. Another vetting I saw, somewhere even sitting in front of the first row. Don't you think that we have relaxed the rules a bit? And that is why, suddenly there seems to be a bit of laxity in the system that we had. Because I've been on the appointments committee for 3 years. We didn't used to have that let me say, congestion. Let me put it that way. We didn't have that. Don't you think that we have relaxed the rules a bit?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The 60 that you were talking about was the earlier sittings when we had allowed the whole place to be opened up. Now, the chairman insisted that now we stick with the 10, and that is when we arranged only 10 seats at the back. But whilst sitting is going on, we will see a member will enter with somebody. It's difficult to get a person out, and the person comes to add up to the number, and the number keeps going high. Those who were sitting down, I think it was the tradition of the paramount chief that was here, that when he sits, there should be some people sitting in front of him. And that was what happened the last time.
Yeah, this is a follow-up. Mr. Marshall, you appear to be concerned only about people in this room which could pose security threat. You have not indicated to us your fears about outside the compound. So are you suggesting that people who come in, even if there were 1 million people, you don't bother about it? Because we have droves of people coming in, some drumming, some singing, and the whole parliament is turned into, an arena of a festival. Are you concerned about that, or you are not?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's of serious concern to us. It's something that we have never seen before, but this time around we realized that it was happening. People were bussed, some all the way from Tamale and other places were bussed in. And because of their culture, they carry with them drums and the rest. We insisted that they should not play because this is an office. People are working. You can't be playing drums and the rest. You try to stop them. By the time you turn around to do other things, another group has come doing almost the same thing. So it was back and forth that we kept stopping them. But then we had a system at the gate to stop all buses that were coming in. People will now debus and now walk in. They are coming to visit an MP. They will not say they are coming for vetting. They will go to the visitor center, take a visitor's ID. They are coming to visit an honorable member. You can't stop him because this is House of Parliament, open to the public. The person now goes to the honorable member. Before you see, the person has found himself inside the vetting room, and that kept the number going up. But we are concerned with security on the floors of Job 600 and other places, the compound, and we tried as much as possible to keep the security in place. At that day, we have as close as 100 police officers that were dotted around, some within the car parks and then within the precinct, observing and checking so that members are not hurt, the properties in Parliament are not destroyed as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Let me ask, some of the earlier witnesses indicated that they were here to protect the properties of the state. Let me ask you, would you agree with me that the security that was provided wasn't adequate? So that prompted these members of Parliament to join. I know security is supposed to be provided by the Marshal, but they decided to join because they felt security we provided wasn't enough. Would you agree with me?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think we provided the necessary security for the committee meeting. Little did we know that it will go to the extent of damaging state property. You realize when the table was pulled, because the cables are interconnected, that was when the console now fell from the table to hit the ground and get scattered into pieces. But as much as possible, we were also holding them in place so that they are not destroyed. It was unfortunate that particular console fell when the table was lifted and got broken.
So in reality, you didn't need the members of Parliament who were protecting property, public property. You don't need them at all to support the police. Is that what you are saying?
Mr. Chairman, we need everybody to help us keep security.
Yeah, before they even started destroying properties, there was this popular instruction from the leadership. We all heard it. Tutu, table, and now tutu cables. What did you do? Immediately you heard that. What did the marshal do?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Protection of the properties is also in our care, and we came in as much as possible to stop them from removing those cables. Some of the mics were on. Honorable members have on them and were speaking through it, so there was no way we could shut everything down, and we just had to protect what is there. It was unfortunate that the movement of the table that caused that console to fall. However, the rest were protected at that time.
Chair, I just want to find out, because the instruction came before the distraction. You were here. And when the instruction came, he spoke into the mic, so everyone heard it. I'm asking the measures you took immediately, because if you had taken probably, for want of word, the right action, probably they couldn't have even acted the way they did, because we all heard it. I wasn't here, but I was just watching it on television, and you could hear that cable to table. And so at that time,
Honorable colleague, he mentioned that he wasn't here when the whole thing started. He was within the corridor. When he realized that there was altercation, he decided to come in. Was that it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So you didn't hear that there was this shout from one of the leaders that tutu cable no tree, tutu cables no tree table no.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was in when that particular statement was made. However, all our eyes were on the table and looking at those who maybe attempt to hold any of the console or table or cables to pull. Those that attempted, we tried to ward them off. But the unfortunate thing was the dragging of the table, the forceful dragging of the table caused that console to fall and split into pieces.
I just want to find out, was it helpful, those who tried to, let me say, support you to protect properties here, was it helpful, the members of parliament?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it was helpful. They kept bringing the tables back. Otherwise, more of the consoles may have gotten damaged at that point.
Okay. Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Kofi Ofosu, we will discharge you now. We may call on you again. There are a few questions that we'll need to ask you before we finalize our report. So once again, you are discharged. Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. We now call upon Honorable Minister Designate for Health.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Honorable Kwabena Minta Akando.
I, Kwabena Minta Akando,
swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching
the matter in issue
shall
be the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
Nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Honorable Akando, You were not here when we played the video. Do you want us to play the video again for you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Can you please play the video for him to watch himself? No, to watch a gentleman who looks like him, to confirm that whether he was the one. No, there are two marshals. The second, the top one. Yeah, okay. So the question is yes, Honorable Akando.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
You watched the video.
I did. My attention was drawn to the fact that you wanted me to identify myself in the video,
Yes.
and I have.
Okay. That confirms that you are the person in the video.
Very well, Mr. Chairman.
On the 30th of January, when the nominee for the Ministry of Health portfolio was to be vetted, were you here?
Mr. Chairman, I was the same person.
Can you tell us what happened on that fateful day? In a brief, since you have to go somewhere. Brief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I was invited by the appointment committee to appear before them on the 30th. Mr. Chairman, in the morning of the 30th, I called the clerk to the committee, Madam Gifty, to send me the program, the timetable. Mr. Chairman, when she sent me the timetable, my name was moved from on the 30th to 31st. So I quickly called her back and I said he had given me the wrong timetable. And she indicated to me that it was a right timetable, but they have reviewed it and that he was going to send me the new one and that I was supposed to be vetted on that day. Mr. Chairman, before then, immediately I saw that my name had been moved to 31st. Then I called the leadership of the committee, the appointment committee, to indicate to them that I had no notice whatsoever that my name had been moved to 31st. And my people had already started the journey and arrived in Accra, and so I was at a loss. And so both sides of the committee indicated to me that I was going to be vetted. In fact, my chief whip, the majority chief whip, indicated to me that if I had not had any clear instructions from them, why should I panic? And that I should get ready to appear before the committee. So I was held in the holding room for some time. I mean, you are going to be the second person, third person, fourth person, in that order. So at a point in time, the clerk came to the holding room and then called us to come and sit in the room. So I came in. I thought I was even going to be vetted. I saw the minister designated for transport took his seat, and then I had to come and sit close by. So immediately after the minister designated for transport, I took my seat. And then the chairman of the committee instructed that they should administer the oath. That's why I saw that the minority members of the committee started saying they wouldn't agree, and that everything started going wayward.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Designate. Colleagues, do you have questions for the witness?
Thank you, Chairman. So, Honorable Minister Designate, when you saw the commotion from the video that we have seen, you kept glued to your seat. Were you hopeful that you were going to be vetted in spite of all that was going on?
Very much so, Mr. Chairman. I thought that, well, we usually disagree at the committee meetings, and finally, in most of the cases, cool heads will prevail, and then we continue our work. So I thought it was one of those instances.
So eventually, you could not be vetted. Were you disappointed?
Very, very, very much disappointed, Mr. Chairman. I had to make room for my guests, my visitors, paramount chiefs. I mean, there were quite some number, and it caused a lot of inconveniences to me.
It didn't cost you money. It cost you only inconvenience.
It cost me a lot of money, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that will be all for now.
Thank you.
Any other colleagues? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable senior colleague, how did you feel?
At the time?
When all this was going on around you, because actually it was just right at your time that this happened. How did you feel?
Mr. Chairman, I was so much disappointed, especially with the order in which the vetting was done. Mr. Chairman, you know, in this house, we do a lot of things by seniority. So I didn't understand why my junior colleagues would be vetted, especially when we're all, I mean, the names came at a time, and then I'll be asked to wait. I didn't understand. So I didn't understand the criteria they were using. So I was so much disappointed. I must be very honest with you. And I had the opportunity to register that displeasure at a point in time. After all, this is my 4th term in Parliament. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, so with all that happened, and with the senior that we all know that you are young, but you are senior in the House, what is your advice moving forward? From what you saw, what you were...
Mr. Chairman, I think we must plan things well. And when we plan, we must go according to the plan. If they had gone according to the plan, all these things would have been avoided. Mr. Chairman, I was told that that came about as a result of the fact that a particular day's vetting couldn't take place. So if I was part of the committee, my humble view, my humble opinion was that they will reschedule that day, those people who were supposed to be vetted that day, so that it will not affect the program, the rest of the program. But if you begin to slow them as and when, it is better to disappoint a group than to disappoint the whole program. So I thought that they should have, that is my opinion anyway. You may disagree with me. So I think that we should plan and plan well. Thank you.
Honorable colleague, but what is your view also on the behavior of our colleagues here on that day? I think that we are not keen on having our children pull tables, tear cables, and all that, but I want your view on that. We have to call a spade a spade. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it was uncalled for. It is unexpected of a member of Parliament. My children, when I go home, Daddy, we saw you were fanning yourself, and the rest, you were fighting. I think it was embarrassing. Thank you.
Well, Honorable Minister Designate, were you part of the struggle? Did you fight anybody?
Mr. Chairman, I have been approved. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Honorable, but the President has not saw you.
Mr. Chairman, once I have been approved, Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Minister for Health, were you part of the struggle? Did you also fight?
Not at all, Mr. Chairman.
So you didn't raise any table?
Not at all.
No chairs?
I was calm, and I was just watching what was happening. Never.
Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. or follow-up? Okay.
Mr. Chair, the clerk, she came to give some initial evidence on the other day that we met, but she was standing right by you, to your left side. What was the engagement between you and her?
Well, Mr. Chairman, she kept looking at the direction of Mr. Chairman to see whether or not she could be given instructions to administer the oath. And so even at the point in time when the chairman had given the instruction, she was still cool and she wanted everything to calm down before she does so. So I didn't hear her talk, and she kept telling me I should just wait, cool down. That's all. I mean,
Yeah,
Chairman,
okay.
just because, okay.
Mr. Nominee, on a lighter note, you said that once you had been approved, you were there. I want to let you know that in this house, people have been vetted, approved, and never sworn in. In fact, to add to it, they were actually in the swearing room and they were not sworn in. But that's on a lighter note.
Yeah, Chairman, thank you very much. I know Honorable Akando is a very friendly guy. Even across the other side, you have a lot of good friends. So what were you thinking of when Honorable Minister for, who was the nominee then, Transport, he came ahead of you and he went through, but when he got to your time, what were you thinking of? Because I know you have a lot of friends across there.
Mr. Chairman, not even only friends, but I was surprised because they had given their word that I was going to be vetted. I had already indicated that when I saw my name changed to 31st, I reached out to them, and they said no. I mean, they have reviewed it, and I was going to be vetted. So I heard it from them that they said I was going to be vetted. So I was surprised when, this commotion was going on. I was actually surprised, but hey, there was less I could do then.
Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. In less than a week, you've attended upon vetting committee and then special committee to find out what happened on your day of vetting. We will call upon you again before we finalize our report. Thank you very much. And we wish you all the best today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable colleagues, we were supposed to take 2 other honorable members, but I want to plead with you to allow Honorable Minister for, are you also designated, approved, or anointed Foreign Affairs to, since they have to go for their swearing in, I want to plead with you to allow him to.
I,
Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa,
swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall
be the truth,
the
whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, son of man, Minister for Foreign Affairs. You were not here when we showed the video. Would you like to watch the video again to identify whether you were here on that fateful day?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I was here, and I recall exactly what happened.
So can you tell
I would
this
like to
committee?
proceed without the video.
Thank you. Can you tell this committee what really happened on the 30th of January when you were supposed to be vetted?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, before narrating what I witnessed on that day, I would like to read to you 2 letters I received from the Appointments Committee inviting me to appear before the Appointments Committee. I believe this will establish the basis for me attending upon the committee on that day. My entry into the Appointments Committee room has generated some controversy. I have heard the minority leader and some members of the MPP suggest that I was smuggled in and that I and my guests, including my wife, had no business showing up on that day. Indeed, when I appeared before the Appointments Committee to be vetted, I raised the issue, and the chairman of the committee and the minority leader apologized to me for that press conference and that unfortunate narrative they had put out there, suggesting that I was trying to force myself onto the committee when I had not been invited. So I think that it is absolutely essential that I read these invitation letters, and then I'm willing to also make copies available to your committee so that you can have that in your report.
Go ahead and then make copies available to our clerk.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, this invitation letter is dated the 22nd of January 2025, addressed to the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Member of Parliament, Parliament House, Accra, and it reads, Dear Sir, invitation to attend upon the Appointments Committee. The Appointments Committee wishes to extend its warmest congratulations to you on your nomination as Minister Designate for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Pursuant to Standing Order 217, I am directed by the Chairman of the Committee to kindly invite you to attend upon the Appointments Committee on the 30th of January 2025 at 12:30 at Committee Rooms 1 and 2 of the Administration Block, Parliament House, Accra. You are kindly requested to submit copies of your curriculum vitae with your signature on each page and tax clearance certificate from the Ghana Revenue Authority to the Secretariat of the Appointments Committee on the second floor, job 600. And it goes on because of time to give the email address of Parliament and all of that. So I just want to, because of time, go quickly to the last 2 paragraphs. You are further requested to provide the names of 10 guests who will be present to witness your vetting. You may contact the Secretariat of the Committee on 0244. 2 numbers are provided because these are open hearings. I don't have the permission of these phone owners to put out their numbers. And then it says that contact these numbers for further clarification. Yours faithfully. And this invitation letter is signed by Mrs. Gifty Jiage Goba, the clerk to the Appointments Committee. Mr. Chairman and respected members of the committee, attached to this invitation letter is this other correspondence I received, which has the heading, 9th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, coverage of proceedings of the Appointments Committee, schedule for vetting of nominees, Thursday, 30th January 2025. And the names are provided as follows. Nominees: Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpo, MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment. 8 a.m. is the time provided. Then, Honorable Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, Minister Designate, Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. 9 a.m. Samuel Nate George is the 3rd name here. MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations, 10 a.m. The Honorable Kofi Idi Adams, Minister Designate, Ministry of Sports and Recreation, 11 a.m. Then there is lunch break at 12 noon. Then I was to come immediately after the lunch break. It's here. Fifth nominee, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Minister Designate, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 12:30. So they were anticipating that they'll have a 30-minute lunch, and then I will be vetted at 12:30. There are 3 other names after me, if you don't mind. The Honorable Joseph Bukari Nikbe, MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Transport, 1:30 p.m. The Honorable Isifu Seidu, MP, Minister of State, Climate Change and Sustainability, 2:30 p.m. And the final name for that day, the 30th of January, is Mrs. Charity Gardiner, Minister Designate, Ahafu Region, 3:30 p.m. So this was attached. 8 nominees were supposed to appear on that day. So I want to state for the record that I was not smuggled in. I was asked to be present here with my guests for a session at 12:30 p.m. to be vetted. And we waited and waited and waited until I was prompted at about 8 p.m.
Yes,
thereabout that
just a
I
clarification.
can now come in.
Clarification. You mentioned 2 letters. Is it the attachment that is the second one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please. So it's the attachment I referred to. So I want to state for the record that it is based on this invitation letter that I duly composed the delegation, which included paramount chiefs from the North Tongue traditional area, chiefs from Anglo, where I also hail from both Anglo and Tong, as chairman, you know. Then the Tepahine, the paramount chief of the Tepa traditional area in the Ashanti region. I've served as Imrantia Hine in Tepa for more than 12 years now. And so I have very strong, alliances with the good people of Tepa in the Ashanti region. They gladly joined me here, my dear wife, and the members of Oral, the Oral team I'm very proud of. I'm told that the reason why I'm coming under a lot of attacks and tribulation is because of Oral, but I remain proud of the work we are doing at Oral. So the Oral team members were here to support me. So that's really the delegation I composed. And I received prompting from the chief whip that we could now come in at about 8 p.m. So we were expecting that we will be vetted that evening and that our chiefs and these eminent guests will be apologized to, that you asked us to come at 12:30, is 8 p.m. But to our surprise, we entered the room and we faced hostilities. When particularly our colleagues on the minority side saw me entering with my delegation, they got very furious. What am I doing here? And they said they were not going to vet me. I was really taken aback. I was surprised that, I have your own invitation letter and you are saying that I'm not supposed to be coming in. Meanwhile, it's members of the committee, because we wait in a holding area, and then the chief whip came to beckon that we can now come to be vetted. So when I came in, the Honorable Akando was just about to take his turn. He was about to be sworn in, and I was ushered on the 3rd seat here on my left to wait my turn, so that after Honorable Akando, I will be vetted. And then the whole hostilities began and the degeneration into violence, what clearly was despicable. We were traumatized, and I was really embarrassed as a member of parliament, because I recall paramount chiefs asking me, is that what you people do here? What's the meaning of that? I mean, and there was one chief who told me he even feared for his life. So some of them had to, quickly just escape because they didn't know if the violence, the way tables were being carried and destruction going on, if some of these tables and microphones, PA systems that were being destroyed could be thrown at them. So some had to take flight. I'm even wondering if some of these people will be willing to honor an invitation again to Parliament following what happened that night. And it has to be condemned in no uncertain terms. And to think that after inviting us and engaging in such despicable conduct, traumatizing guests, people you have invited, instead of apologizing, the next day they were holding press conferences saying that we had smuggled ourselves in. I mean, it was like adding, insult to injury. And to be very honest with you, Chairman, it's been a very, very difficult period. And it's as though somebody, and what the impression they tried to create out there was as though there was a certain conspiracy with our members on the majority side. We didn't want to be thoroughly vetted, so we just wanted to be smuggled in so that we can just have an easy pass. But, I mean, this is not the first time I've been invited for vetting. It will be probably my third vetting. I've been vetted as Deputy Minister for Information, Deputy Minister for Education. This is my third, vetting. I do not, fear vetting. I had nothing to worry about, nothing to fear, because I believe that I've always discharged myself in public office with integrity and honor, and there was really nothing to fear. So why would I conspire with majority colleagues to, just be smuggled in at night and just have an easy pass? I would also like to state for the record, for those who, I've heard some people say that when it was getting late.
Honorable colleague,
Yeah.
when we watched the video, you sat quietly with all this thing, bubbling up in you. Why didn't you also join them fighting?
No, it's not in my nature. I certainly was not going to join in any fight. So I just, took things calm and did not want to partake
continue.
in that. I was just about to respond to those who have said that, it was getting late and that I and my guests could probably have just gone home and could not have, and probably we should not have responded to the invitation when the Chief Whip said we can now enter the room pursuant to the invitation letter that we have received. And for those who say that, I want to remind them of the enormous powers that committees of Parliament have under the Constitution. I want to, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, read Article 103. I could have really been in serious trouble if, following this invitation letter, I decided on my own that because it's probably getting late, I would not enter the room when I've been asked to appear. Article 103(1) of the Constitution provides, Parliament shall appoint standing committees and other committees as may be necessary for the effective discharge of its functions. 6 then says, a committee appointed under this article shall have the powers, rights, and privileges of the High Court or a justice of the High Court at a trial for A, enforcing the attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise. B, compelling the production of documents. And C, issuing a commission or request to examine witnesses abroad. So under Article 103 of the Constitution, when a parliamentary committee invites you, it is not a joke. You cannot on your own volition say that you will not attend. They have powers of the High Court. And the Constitution is very clear. There are grave consequences if you do not appear. And Mr. Chairman, our standing orders also, under Standing Order 212, with your permission, Standing Order 212 also provides, quote, a committee shall have powers, rights, and privileges of the court or a justice of the High Court at a trial to enforce the attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath, affirmation or otherwise. So, Mr. Chairman, I respectfully submit that I would have been in very serious trouble if I did not honor the invitation pursuant to Article 1036 and Standing Order 212 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. And that is why I was duty-bound as a law-abiding citizen, as a member of Parliament, to appear before the Appointments Committee, just as I have done. You know, I received your summons yesterday, quite late, but I have put everything aside to be here. I will dare not, disobey the summons, and I will show up because I know the consequences of not appearing when a committee of Parliament has invited you. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to state forcefully that I was not smuggled. I had the basis to be here, an invitation letter, and then a schedule of how I will appear in an orderly manner, all signed by the clerk of the Appointments Committee, and that is why I entered the room on that fateful night of the 30th of January.
Thank you very much, Honorable Summer. Before my colleagues take their turn, can you just summarize what you saw on that day? You give us what really happened on that day, but you did not tell us what you saw in the room. This committee is to investigate what really happened in the room. Thank you for giving us the background. Now, I want to know what you saw in the room on that day. Just a summary because of time.
What I saw was a degeneration into violence, destruction of property. As soon as I entered, I was greeted with hostilities. It was clear to me that I was the target. They did not want to have me vetted that day. And why do I say that? If you look at the schedule advertised and published, the media giving copies, you had some of the persons here who were even taken ahead of me. For example, the Honorable Joseph Bukari Nikbe. He was to have come after me on the schedule that the Appointments Committee published. They did not have any difficulty bringing him ahead of my vetting.
Did you find out why that happened? Because we were wondering, if you have this schedule, why should they vary without informing you?
Nobody gave me any information.
Okay.
Even the Honorable Akando, who was about to be sworn in before me, the schedule that I was given, and you heard him confirm that, he was to come the next day. That's Friday, 31st January. But they called him that he could come ahead, and he has just confirmed that. So what he said is really true, because if you look at the schedule, Honorable Akando was to be the nominee number 5 to be vetted the next day, Friday, 31st January 2025. And this was published, widely circulated to the media, and we all saw it. The media carried it. So as to how come, even though they were saying it was late and they were tired, they were happy to vet others who were not even scheduled to be vetted before me. They were very happy to vet Honorable Nikbe, who was, according to their own schedule, to be vetted after me. Honorable Akando, who was to come the next day, they didn't mind at all to put them ahead of me, and they were vetting them. I believe, really, and I have sympathies for Honorable Akando. If I had not obeyed the chief whip and entered the room that night, I'm sure he would have had a smooth vetting, like Honorable Nikbe was. But they felt that once I have entered and I'm in queue, as soon as they finish with Honorable Akando, I would then take my seat. They said they would just disrupt.
Well, we cannot conclude on that.
No, but Mr. Chairman, the facts are clear that these are people, according to their own published schedule, who were to be vetted before me. They were, after me, pardon me. They were all to be vetted after me. But at the end of the day, what we saw is that they made room to vet them ahead of me. No problem at all. I know that sometimes, I don't know what the exigencies were, if they made special requests. I know, for example, that Honorable Nikbe his constituency, it will take a whole day of travel to get back. So if probably he made a special request that his chiefs have to go back, I'm considerate. I mean, my chiefs will just need about 2 or 3 hours to get back as compared to him. So I can understand that. But to the extent that they were, making room for others, and then just upon seeing me, they engage in those hostilities. What I saw clearly was an attempt to totally disrupt the proceedings, and they actually proceeded to disrupt the proceedings. I heard the minority leader say, actually threaten the clerk, Madame Gifty Jage Goba, that she dares not swear in Honorable Akando, that if you did, you will see. You are a partisan clerk. I heard these words clearly. You are a partisan clerk. Don't swear in Honorable Akando. If you dare, you see what I will do to you. Naked threats. And then he got up. The chairman was screaming, order, order. They undermined the authority of the chairman, the Honorable Bernard Ahiafo. They even pushed him aside. What I saw, and I'm sure the videos will confirm that, his table and his mic was forcibly taken out, and then they descended on the tables. And I heard the chief whip. The chief whip was the commander-in-chief of the chaos and the violence. He was directing them what to do. Muntutu, Munyi, carry this, and all of that. He really decided to be the leader of the mayhem. After the minority leader had given the signals, had threatened the clerk not to swear in Honorable Akando, then the chief whip took the minority chief whip, the Honorable Arnaud Dompre, then took over and then directed the violence that happened.
We didn't see that in the video, that the chairman's microphone was taken away. Who took the microphone, the chairman's microphone away?
So what I recall, you had the minority MPs. I recall Jerry. I recall the Honorable Tampuli, and they were in the thick of affairs with the minority chief whip, Honorable Arnaud Dompre, directing. And I heard him clearly because the mics were on, and even though I was seated here calmly, I could see and hear all of what was going on. And he said, Muntutu, Munyiyi.
But you can't confirm who took the chairman's microphone.
I would need to refresh my memory on that.
Okay,
on
because
that
we don't have on record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to refresh my memory on that. But I do recall that they took away his microphone, took away his table, the table that you are using now. That's the first table that was attacked, and they removed it, they pushed it, shoved the chairman aside, and they were determined to disrupt the vetting, and they were saying it that there will be no vetting tonight. They will not continue with the proceedings, and then along the line, they asked the Honorable Jerry, who is the MP for Ogbawe, I'm told. He's a new MP, so I'm still getting to know him. He then came to stand here and physically tried to stop the clerk from swearing in Honorable Akando, who was just about to be sworn in. I recall he was standing, holding the Bible, waiting to be sworn in. So the minority leader was threatening the clerk, and then Jerry had come to stand by Akando. And then the fight continued here. It led to another brawl on this side. And that's when I noticed that some of the guests, some of the chiefs began to walk out, obviously fearing for their lives, began to walk, because it had now moved very closely to where the guests were seated.
Thank you very much for the narration. Honorable colleagues, question.
Yes, thank you very much. Honorable Minister, this is a simple question, and I want a simple answer. So, you did not participate in the scaffold that went on. Is that right?
Yes, please. I didn't participate at all. I sat quietly. And at a point when I noticed that, no, I listened to the Honorable Majority Leader who had come in to calm tempers. He did really exhibit leadership, and I have to commend the Honorable Mahama Ayariga. So I listened to his brief media engagement where he said that clearly we can't continue with the vetting. He was going to make arrangements with the Speaker to see if probably we can continue the next day at the Speaker's conference room. So when it became clear to me that the vetting will not continue following the Honorable Mahama Ayariga's presentation, I then quietly left the room.
Yes. So, will I be right if I were to suggest to you that you were terribly disappointed on that day as a result of the failure of the committee to vet you?
Yes, please. Terribly disappointed and also embarrassed as a member of parliament because the spectacle, I mean, I believe the title honorable is earned. We earn it by our conduct. And what happened that night was really, really disgraceful, really shameful. And the sad part is that it was the same week that this same minority chief whip had brought up a matter on the floor at plenary that he had been called silly by someone and he would not accept it, and Parliament must be shown respect and all of that. The same week, in less, just under 48 hours, this kind of conduct. So I wasn't surprised the next day there was a lot of bashing of Parliament. And unfortunately, when the bashing is going on, all of us are brought into disrepute and become fair targets. And you can't blame the general public. They say, oh, look at them. When you call them silly, they don't want to accept it. But look at their conduct, look at how they are misbehaving, you know, and that probably even silly is mild, you know. So I really was embarrassed. I was not only terribly disappointed, but I was also embarrassed. And I still feel really embarrassed. And I think that we have a lot to do as an institution and as members of Parliament to reclaim, you know, our image and restore our honor and dignity before members of the public. It's really, really sad that a few of our colleagues will bring Parliament into such disrepute. It's really, really sad. I don't think that this institution deserves this kind of image. It's horrendous what has happened.
Okay, so thank you. That will be all for now.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, apart from the fact that if you ask me, the processes, the vetting process on that day, if you ask me, it was poorly managed. Looking at the number of ministers that was scheduled on that very day, would you also agree with me that the number of delegates, people that follow you, ministers for vetting, also put a lot of pressure on nominees? Because judging from what you indicated earlier, the numbers that came from TEPA and from your own region, Volta region, I guess we had a huge delegation. And the cost aspect may not be so easy for nominees to bear. And keeping some of them here more than a day or two, that might also put some pressure on the chairman of the committee to at least increase the number of nominees that's supposed to be vetted in a day. In future, wouldn't we recommend that we reduce the numbers so that it will not burden most of the appointees?
Well, thank you very much. This is a very important question, and I have served on the appointments committee for a considerable number of years. And when I saw the schedule, I could really foresee that there will be difficulties. I was really, you want to vet 8 people, in a day, and before this day, the minority leader had gone on Channel 1 TV and had announced to the whole world that there were two people they were looking for. And I saw those two people on that day, scheduled for that day, the Honorable Sam George and I, you know. And I was wondering, the way he spoke in that interview, it was clear that we will be targeted and we will spend a long time. So if that is the case, why do you put the two of us the same day with 6 others? So I sensed that it would be. So I remember telling my chiefs that I'll plead with them. They would have to really prepare to wait for the long haul, that it may get to my turn quite late, because I could really predict that Honorable Sam George will spend a long time, and I may even run into the next day. So I'm surprised that after all they had said publicly before the vetting about how they had targeted 2 of us, they put us in the same group to appear the same day with 6 others. Then on time management, I think that as a house moving forward, and I'm glad that looking at your terms of reference, you are also supposed to make recommendations. It does appear that the minority leader is given unfettered, time. With Honorable Sam George, it appears that he, for more than 3 hours, he was going back and forth, repeating questions, and he just had a field day. When I served on the appointments committee, I remember Honorable Joe Osei-Wusu. He will ask the then minority leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, you should be getting ready to wind up here. Yes, we know leadership are extended courtesies. Members of leadership are extended due courtesies. But it is not a blank check, So the Honorable Joe Osei-Wusu will control. So I think that moving forward, one of the recommendations should be that there should be some timelines. Yes, every other members have 3 questions with follow-ups. But if the minority leader will not be limited in the number of questions, at least reasonable time, if it's 2 or 3 hours, reasonable, maximum, so that we don't have this situation where they go on and on and on one target.
On that note, we're getting ready to wind up.
And then, Mr. Chairman, let me also add that I do not think that it does the image of Parliament any good when before vetting, people are targeted. So it means that the vetting really, people already have a prejudiced mind. Some members have a prejudiced mind. It's not really about what you come and say and evidence that is adduced during your vetting. They have made up their mind already. Because before the Honorable Sam George and I appeared, there are many people who were concerned for us that, hey, then you may spend 5 days, you may spend 2 weeks, hey, then they will really grill you and mess you up. It means you won't even get any approval. They even suggested that they wanted some of us to come and see them and beg, and atone our sins before the vetting. And all of that doesn't help. And I think that one of your recommendations, with all due respect, should be that these comments that tend to prejudice the work of the committee, where the committee appears to become a vehicle for settling personal scores, for going after people who probably the minority do not like, because of the work they have done.
On that note,
it has to be stopped.
On that note,
I think it undermines the work of the appointments committee.
Minister for Foreign Affairs, we want to... No more question. We want to discharge you. And if this committee needs you again, we'll call you. Otherwise, the Son of Man will not allow us to finish our work. Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. Honorable colleagues.
Well, thank you very much, Chairman.
Welcome. Honorable colleagues, we have a Deputy Minister designate who want to run away, but the Honorable Member for Agotime, Ziope, is also here. Whilst we have one of the, you are discharged. And we want to plead with 2 of our members, honorable members, to allow Mr. George Glory Opeku. Is it Opeku? Okay. To take his oath. And then after that, we'll take the two of our colleagues. Mr. George Opoku, before you take the oath, you are not here for the video. And so I will ask the technical department to show you a session of where you were actively involved in. No, don't show it to me. We want everybody to see it. So please bring it up. We want everyone to see where Mr. George Glory Opoku was actively involved. And so nobody would question this committee for bringing non-MP to this committee. The reason why we brought him, I believe all of you will say it, and then we can all give our judgment.
Grateful that you stayed on with us. This is Channel One Television, and we're bringing you a live coverage of that public hearing by the special committee set up by the Speaker, Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagbin, to investigate the chaos that happened at the Appointment Committee sitting on Thursday, the night of Thursday, January 30, 2025, and the early morning of Friday, January 31. Sanda, what do you make of the process so far?
Well, I think the committee is supposed to gather evidence, present the report or the evidence to the Speaker and the House of Parliament, and then make recommendations. And I think they can only gather evidence by talking to people who are relevant to the discussion. And so far, I think they've spoken to people who are very relevant to the conversation. So they started off with the Member of Parliament for Posiga, Honorable Ayamba, and Ladi Ayamba. She has told her story from the perspective of where she sat. Mind you, for those of us who were watching the proceedings, there wasn't agitation from the majority bench. They were sitting calmly, a lot of them. Their desk looked almost not affected. The chaos started from the minority side. The lifting of the chairs and putting on the table started from the minority side on the orders of Honorable Domprek, which has been repeated variously by people who have appeared before this committee. So the Honorable Ayamba has made her comment and made her statement. We've also seen the marshal, and for me, it's very crucial that we hear from the marshal.
Yeah.
And importantly, the marshal said he was around as of the time that the order was given by Honorable Frank Anodompre. So that's very significant for me. And the marshal is like the chief security of the House of Parliament. And he's no mean a person. He is a retired lieutenant colonel of the Ghana Armed Forces. So that's very big a deal for me. We've also seen the man who was sitting there waiting to be vetted that day, the pink fan holding the Honorable Kwabena Mintakondo, who was fanning himself because Charlie was sweating.
The one from Dwabuso.
The man from Dwabuso has come through, and he has come to tell his story. We've also heard from the Honorable John Oti Bless, former Deputy Minister, Member of Parliament from Kwanta. He has also come to tell his story from the perspective. And I think he was asked to mention some of the people that he thought, and I think he mentioned Dr. Afriyie, my own senior anchorite from Tamasco, who is MP. Afriyie, MP for Efidiasia Sokori.
He didn't know his name.
Yes, I mean...
He had to be shown a picture to identify him.
It's quite funny because John Oti Bless has been in Parliament for a long time.
Yes, and the UFE is not a new member of the House.
Exactly. But you know, usually sometimes your mind may just play games with you. I think the Honorable Ayamba forgot the name of the former NPA boss, Member of Parliament for Gusau, Hassan Tampoli.
Yeah, Hassan Tampoli.
She said she didn't remember the name, but he's a northerner and an MP and one of the people who were suspended. And
we even heard her give Jerry a different name.
It took forever. It took forever before you could mention it. So, I mean, unless you write these things down, just coming to make statements. But it's good that they showed it to them. Is that the person you are referencing? It's like an identification parade of a sort, and they said, yes, that's the person. So, I think so far the evidence that has been given, the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa has come through and told his story, and even went through a monologue of repeating what he said at the appointments committee, that he was duly invited on that day and that he didn't gate crash. He tried to make that point, and also even suggest recommendations to the committee for onward recommendation to the House of Parliament. So I think it's been quite an exercise, and let's watch what happens next. I'm just saddened though that the MPP are not there.
Very well. Before we came back into the studio, the committee was going to play a video to, as it is now, a witness who has appeared before it. So let's go back to that hearing by the special committee.
Shall have the powers, rights, and privileges of the High Court or a justice of the High Court at a trial for A, enforcing attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise, compelling the production of documents and issuing a commission of request to examine witnesses. I believe you heard what the Constitution says and the standing orders of this House. Mr. George Glory Opeku.
Yes, Chairman, I do.
So you are under oath, and you're also appearing before a committee, special committee, to investigate what happened here during the vetting of some nominees of His Excellency the President by appointment committee. Now, this committee was set up to investigate all that happened here. And we saw in a video a gentleman who was wearing white. I don't know whether that is George Gregory Opeku. Glory Opeku. Can you confirm whether the gentleman we saw in the video was you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. So clearly, it is not a dotted video at all.
No, please.
Mr. George, who are you and what were you doing here on that fateful day, since you are not a member of Parliament?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that fateful day, I entered into the vetting room with Honorable
Ablakwa. I came with him to support him through his vetting time. That was my reason of entering here.
Were you part of the 10 members of his entourage that were supposed to be in this room with him?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any letter to that effect to know 10 or 20 or the number of people that will be here with him.
So, will you state that Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who just left, will agree with this committee that you were part of his entourage that came to witness his vetting on that day?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Did he give you any invitation letter personally, or he called you to be part of his vetting?
No letter. I called and congratulate him, and he said the 30th will be his vetting day, so if I can make a time.
Do you have any text message or any evidence from him that he called you, he sent you a text message? Because I have a text message that the caucus chairman, he has invited all of us to be here, and I can show you that text message as evidence. Did you have any text message from him?
No, Mr. Chairman.
On that note, you came on your own to witness his vetting.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Before I ask you to tell us what you saw or what you witnessed and why you were involved, are you aware that on this table, if the chairman did not invite you to sit here, as I did today, you are not permitted to be where members of parliament are supposed to be? Are you aware?
No, Mr. Chairman.
So for the emphasis and for education, this committee sitting is just like parliament or the plenary. Now, as we sat down, if I have not permitted you, you are a stranger. And so we are going to look at you as a stranger in parliament on that day. And do you agree to that? If you are not comfortable with any of the questions and you want a lawyer, we can allow you to bring a lawyer so that you come back on Monday.
I would like to know that if I need to come with invitation to the vetting room, is that what you are saying?
I'll repeat myself again. When a committee of parliament is having meeting, and I'll read it for you from the standing orders, it is assumed that parliament is sitting. Now, in the chamber, you cannot enter the chamber to sit where members of parliament sit. And so on that day, our standing order says you were a stranger in the chamber. Because you are not a member of parliament, where MPs were, you are not supposed to be there. And my question is, are you aware?
I'm not aware, my lord. Oh, Mr. Chairman.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And there are consequences of disobeying our order. Now, I want to repeat myself again. Do you want to come with a lawyer so that we can extend your time to Monday?
I would like to come with a lawyer.
Honorable members, I would want you to extend an invitation to our colleague and ask that he comes back on Monday, because there are legal issues that we need to sort out. And then we'll also invite Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa to come with him on Monday again to testify whether he indeed invited him, because of where we saw him in the video among members of parliament. Our standing orders talks about strangers. And if you are a stranger in parliament, there are consequences of being a stranger in parliament. And so I will discharge him if members permit, allows me. I'll discharge him, and then we can take him on Monday. Is that okay? Mr. George Glory Opeku, you are discharged until Monday, 10 o'clock. Thank you very much for attending. So Monday, please come with your lawyer, and then we'll also invite our colleague, Honorable Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So we'll take We'll now have Honorable Minister for... Oh, sorry, Deputy Minister Designate. Deputy Minister Designate for local government. Is it for local government? Local government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. Honorable Rita Na Odole Sowa. Can you please take the oath?
I,
Rita Na Odole Sowa,
swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall
be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
So help me God.
Honorable Rita Na Odole Sowa, first of all, let me congratulate you on your nomination as Deputy Minister Designate for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. Congratulations.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
You were not here when we played the video, and so I don't know whether you would like to watch the video first before we go ahead.
Honorable Chairman, I would want to watch the video. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Please, have you watched the video?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Can you tell this committee whether you identify yourself in that video?
Honorable Chair, I identify myself, but I saw the back of myself, my hair and a little of my cloth.
Oh, so that was not you. Is that you?
Me. It's me in the video. Thank you.
So can you tell us what you were doing here on that day?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm a member of the Appointments Committee, so I was here that day for the vetting of honorable nominees of His Excellency, the President John Dramani Mahama. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Now Odolesowa, can you tell us exactly what you saw or you witnessed on that day? In summary.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We had carried on vetting to a level, and the next person to be vetted was Honorable Akando. It was agreed that he will be vetted that day. But when it got to his turn, our colleagues on the other side raised the issue of time. And so after that, for me, I was sitting there as a member waiting to hear from leadership. And then I saw that the argument started. And so I was watching and seeing what was going to transpire. Then I realized that our brothers on the other side said they were not going to agree for us to continue. And so what I also saw was that they started beating the table and said they were not going to agree, especially Honorable Arnaud Dompre. And I saw others joining in, and there was a little bit of a scuffle. And they were pulling the table that they would not allow the vetting to continue. And so I also just looked on, and I realized that they were carrying chairs, pulling the table. At a point, the leg of the table got broken, and they kept on fighting till the marshal came in, the clerk of parliament also came in, and there was the argument for the clerk of the committee to swear in Honorable Akando, which the ranking and his team were also against it, asking that she doesn't do that. And so I'll speak to that point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable colleagues, do you have any question for the witness?
Honorable colleague, in your view, from where you are sitting, I know you tend to sit on the opposite side of where I am sitting, where our clerk is sitting. Usually that is your seating position. At what point did you anticipate that this situation was getting a bit out of hand?
Honorable Chair, at the point where we wanted to get the vetting to continue, and then the ranking member said they would not allow the vetting to continue. So at that point, I was sitting there watching to see what was going to transpire, whether we'll be asked to end the vetting or not.
So did you make an attempt to, talk to your colleague on the other side to, calm down or stop what they were doing or something?
At that point, I realized the leadership were arguing among themselves. So I sat quietly, looking on and hoping that nothing untoward will happen. Thank you.
Since the appointment committee started this session, have you ever felt there were some undercurrents of maybe intolerance or something like that amongst the committee members?
Thank you. Normally, we do meet before sitting starts, and views are heard from both sides. And so most of the time, we come to an agreement before we start sitting. So that's what I can say.
Thank you. No further questions for now, Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable colleague, just since the Appointments Committee started sitting, was that the day that you actually vetted the highest number of nominees?
If my memory will serve me right, it would have been that day, but because we didn't continue, and we are all aware that we didn't sit on Tuesday, so we had a backlog that we tried to balance here and there. And so we agreed that for Honorable Akando, so we thought that since he was the one in the chair, we asked him to come in. I'll say the chairman asked him to come in. We thought he would be vetted, but I would say that was the day I think we had the highest number. Thank you.
Did you feel unsafe at any point?
I felt very unsafe, but I had to be calm in my seat. And one thing I want to say is that when you look at this hall and the number of people that come in, if there's any danger, where do you pass? And I didn't know what was going on outside this room, and so I didn't want to risk going out. That's why you saw me seated quietly in my chair. And I would want to add that I'm happy that the rules governing this appointment vetting will be adhered to, because the number of visitors that troop into this room, I mean, it's not the best. And so where you have visitors or guests of appointees or nominees also joining in the arguments, I saw some of them moving from where they were supposed to be and coming around the table, and I don't think that's the best. So if we can consider even the in and out and the number of people coming in, I think it will be the best for us. I really felt unsafe. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to ask you, we know among the leadership on the other side, we have one woman who's a first deputy minority leader. Deputy minority leader. She's a woman, and I saw you sitting here. How was her composure in the midst of all the things that were going on? Because you were so close to the scene. Can you describe her composure at that time?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I would be wrong if I can say I can describe it. I don't recall. But she was sitting there, but I cannot say to this committee, unless I go back to watch the video, how her composure was. Thank you.
I ask this question because with all the things that are happening, I thought if leadership or parliament, we have a lot more women among leadership in parliament, probably we could avert some of the situation because of the calm nature of women. So, looking at the whole episode on telly, I could see it was just in the midst of the men within, where all these things were happening. So I was asking myself, even though the minority chief whip, he had a phone on, so we could hear all the things that he was saying, but my part was a bit calm. So my expectation was that I was expecting something from, because I always want to advocate for women in leadership positions. I was asking myself, what was my part?
Honorable colleague, I want to overrule this one because she's not here, and she's billed to come on. No, she's supposed to be here today. She's not here. But since she's not here physically, I want to beg of you to ask different question.
Chair, the question, because I just wanted to find out the mood, whether you overheard her calming, the leadership of the minority side, because that was my expectation. And because he wasn't on there, they didn't have the mic, so I couldn't hear what she said. So that is what I wanted to find out.
Yeah, say anything at all.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. She was seated, like he said, right in the midst of them, and
the noise.
The noise. So I didn't hear her.
Thank you very much.
I was also seated there quietly, and so. But my one disappointment I had was also how the clerk to the committee was threatened, and I don't think that's the best for us. Having passed the affirmative action bill into law, and sometimes I believe, in as much as the men want us to be the mediators or assume that we are calm people and that we need to come in when there are certain situations, I think the men should also consider us and deal with us well.
Well, the minority leader apologizes to us, even on the floor of the House. So, any more questions? Otherwise, we'll discharge.
Thank you, Chair. I think one thing that keeps coming up is the issue of scheduling. And because you're on the committee, I'm going to extend this question to you, but only if you can answer it. Was there any discussion in any of your pre-sittings to modify the schedule based on the fact that you had a backlog to deal with? And was this communicated to the nominees, to your knowledge?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Yeah, we met and then we agreed that we need to modify the arrangements of inviting the nominees because we had a backlog for the Tuesday, and it was agreed. But along the line, since some of the questions went very far, I think the time was of essence. And so, in as much as we agreed, I won't say, I don't know at which point that the agreement broke down. Okay.
If you can recall, what was the agreement with regards to scheduling?
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Chair. What I will recall is because of the Tuesday, we had the backlog. It was agreed that we'll add some of the Tuesday to the Wednesday, and then some of the Tuesday even to the Thursday. So that's what I can recall.
On that note, I want to thank you so much for attending upon the committee. You are humbly discharged. We'll call upon you when the need arises. Can we have Honorable Charles Agbeve? Then after that, we'll have the Marshal, and then we'll have Honorable, who I just won, Emiliata, Minister for Fisheries.
I, Charles Agbeve,
swear by the Almighty God.
Swear by the Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
Touching the matter in issue.
Touching the matter in issue.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much, Honorable Charles Agbeve. You were not here. Were you here when we watched the video? You watched part of it. Please, did you see a gentleman who looks like you in the video?
It was me, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank God it was you. We've looked at the members of the appointment committee, and we didn't find your name in the list. Now, what were you doing here on the 30th of January?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the 9th Parliament does not have a select committee on health. I was a member of the select committee of health in the 8th Parliament. And so the Chief Whip informed us, pursuant to Order 217, Section 5, subject matter members will be invited. And so I was invited by Chief Whip together with Dr. Sebastian Sandari. I recall the then Deputy Ranking, Dr. Mark Nawani, and Honorable Hutoje, that the four of us should make ourselves available. When we come, then two of us, our names will be given to the chairman as subject matter members. So that's why I found myself here.
So what happened on that fateful day, since you were here as a member on subject matter committee? What happened here?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I recall I was seated where the Joy FM microphone was. And I came in before Honorable Akando took his seat because he was informed that right after Honorable nominee designate for transport, he would take his seat. So I took my seat. Next to me was Dr. Sandari, and we were comparing notes, what we were going to be asking the nominee. So when Honorable Akando was called to take his seat, immediately he sat down. The minority started agitating that we won't agree. We won't agree. Then the chairman requested that the clerk administer the oath. Immediately, he asked the clerk to administer the oath. The minority leader started yelling harsh words at the clerk. That you, the clerk again, you partisan clerk. In fact, it was quite unpalatable. All this while I was seated watching. Then arise that they all got up and had 3 of their microphones on. Now, when you have more than 2 microphones on, no other microphone can be switched on. So it was difficult for Honorable Akando and the clerk to administer the oath. So that was the first strategy they used to actually block the administering of the oath.
You said that was a strategy they used to block.
Yes, because
who used that strategy to block?
Honorable, the minority chief whip. He quickly pressed on the consoles, and once you press 1 or 2 or 3 consoles, you cannot get a 3rd or 4th console working, and that was how come whatever he said was heard loud, because he had his microphone on, he had the 2nd one next to him on, he had the 3rd one far away from him on. And because of that, the oath could not be administered. So anything he said was now loud, and all of us were hearing it. Then the pulling of the table started. In fact, the first thing that happened was the pulling of the table. When the table was pulled, the chairman was still seated. The console right in front of him is where you are, where your console is. It's exactly where his console was. When it was put, because it was sitting on both tables, it fell. And once it fell, we saw the damage. Then I saw my chief whip here. And I saw my chief whip. In fact, before then, Honorable Jerry had come here to try and stop the oath being administered. But I saw 2 colleague MPs, in fact, first timers, push him off, so I couldn't go there. But when I saw my chief whip being attacked by Honorable Tampuli, I could no longer sit on my chair. So I moved to go and separate them because I thought it was getting out of hand. When I got there, I seen majority leader already there separating them. So now, I decided to take advantage to switch off their consoles so that the oath can be administered. It was there I realized that, the thing has gone beyond just switching on the consoles. The plugs have all been pulled out. I tried fixing them. In fact, at a point in time, if you watch me, I was asking Honorable Akando and the clerk to try switching their own on because I had fixed 2. But they could try it, it was not working. So I tried the 3rd one. That was when I saw the table coming towards me because I was in the middle there. My colleagues were pushing the table and it was coming. And I saw that there was danger. So I jumped and sat on the table because it was going to hit me actually. If you watch the video, I jumped and sat on the table and then helped the table to come and fix at its place. We were all doing this just to get the vetting done and also protecting state property. When I got onto the table, before I realized, oh, this time around, the table had moved and it was in the air. The police then came in, and I told colleagues, like, let's move to our place. Let's move. Once the police have come in, I don't think we need to continue staying here. So we moved, and then I came back to my sitting position. And so that's what brought me into the center of the action. First, the attack on my chief whip, who I thought was unfairly being attacked, and I needed to go separate and possibly rescue him, and then also try to fix the microphones that had been pulled out.
Thank you very much for that account. I watched the video, but I didn't know the intention behind. I thought you were also trying to pull the table and, removing cables. But now that you have explained it, we'll further watch the video. I'll leave my colleagues to ask questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable colleague, did you see and experience breaches, various breaches in this room?
Honorable Chair, there were a lot of breaches, a lot. Before I could access the building, it was difficult to pass through the side. In fact, it was virtually impossible. So I had to go down, move through the downstairs, and then come up through this section. Because the numbers on the corridor and in the room was just unbearable. We had almost, I think if I'm not mistaken, 4 of the nominees' supporters all packed here. And that was the first breach, because as far as I know, when you finish yours, you must move out. But those who were yet to be vetted had all their supporters up here. And that was the first breach I saw. The second breach I also saw was we were too many in the hall. This is the first breach was outside. Inside the vetting room itself, all the alleys of where the visitors were supposed to sit were packed. People were standing. And I thought it was just too much. And so the air conditions were rendered useless. The room was really, really hot that day. Then the third breach I also saw, I thought in Parliament, I've witnessed what happened in 2017 on the floor. I had witnessed what happened when the E-levy issue came up. And I thought we had embarrassed ourselves too much in public. And this should not happen ever again in this chamber or this house. So I thought when the minority were protesting that they would not be part of it, the normal thing the minority groups always do is to walk out and do a press conference. And like what the minority will say, let them carry their sins. That's what they normally do. But this time around, what I realized was that they insisted to stay and make sure nothing happens. And once that position is taken, it's obviously going to be conflict. Because we had also taken an entrenched position that the vetting will continue. And so, obviously, it was going to be a breach. And once that is breached, conflict. Then finally, because we had so many supporters in the hall, and we had started a scuffle, if the police had not come in early, they may have been encouraged to join, because they came here to support a nominee. Fortunately, when Jerry came here, Honorable Jerry came here, he was pushed away. So they were now around the nominee, including 2 other MPs, supporting him. And so if the fight had continued, and then they were identifying that we those here were now moving in, they would have joined us. And it would have been too bad. I thought we could have averted it. If Mr. Chairman will allow me, the following day, when the nominee was invited and asked to come for vetting, I realized that there was absolute calm here. Only 10 members were invited, and only 10 Saturday. And so you could see clearly that there was clear sanity on this side until the minority walked in and started again. But this time around, we managed to handle it and had Honorable Akando vetted. And so these were the breaches I saw.
All right, thank you very much for your viewpoint and for your rendition. Moving forward, what would you, because you are here in this space, and you saw what happened and you experienced it, what would you recommend moving forward in terms of, you mentioned a bit about what maybe could be done, but moving forward with your experience and going through appointment committees, seeing these things done, what do you think should be done? And also maybe with crowd management, because now we have moved from just visitors to crowds. If you say the corridor was choked, then I wonder what was happening even on the ground, outside. Because usually people struggle to want to come upstairs to see what is happening and what things. And what is your view on that?
Thank you very much. From what I have observed, once your name is mentioned, if you are not careful, the whole constituency will descend here in Parliament to come and witness your vetting. You can only manage with a few numbers. When you manage with those few numbers, others will find their way in here anyway. So you can't stop the crowd. What I think we can do is to still maintain the 10 that must come into the hall. What you can do is to keep the large crowd at the new member center, where we had our registration done for our tax. Keep a very big screen there and restrict every other visitor to that point. Because even moving all the way into this square here is a security risk to our work here and to the workers of the parliamentary services and ourselves. But when you keep them down with a very big screen where they could watch what is going on here live and where they can be entertained and refreshed, I don't think we'll have too much problem. The crowd management will be far, 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 far better. And that is one recommendation I think Parliament needs to look into moving forward. Because whether you like it or not, you can't stop the crowd. They will find their way here at all costs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable, let me find out from you. You decided to be a peacekeeper because the police were not here. Could we have averted the situation if the police had come in earlier?
The situation would have been much better. The situation would have been much better. Before the police came in, I saw the marshals, the two, but they were helpless. What I saw they did quickly was to get the chairman out. That's the first deputy speaker, to get him out and protected. Then they came back to see how they can manage the situation before the police came in. The presence of the police tried to calm down the situation, first of all by stopping others from joining in, and then also trying to stop other government properties from being destroyed. But our minority colleagues were putting chairs on the tables. And when our colleagues removed them, they put them back. I didn't get there to remove a chair from the table. But when the police came in, they tried stopping them from putting the chairs on the table and further stopped them from getting further consoles destroyed. And so I thought the response of the police could have been much quicker. Then number two, there were police around. But these were bodyguards of MPs. And so they are restricted to certain situations. And so they were interested in protecting their MP than coming in to separate a brow. And so you could see them all visibly around in uniform, but they were not taking part in any of the separation until the police from the unit, parliamentary police unit, came in.
Well, are you impressed with the numbers that came? The number of police personnel that responded, were you okay with that?
Considering the crowd outside and what was inside, I don't think the number was enough. Because it was a crowd situation, and anything at all could have happened. I would say, because it was late, we didn't have more colleagues coming in. We, those who were here, and a few later saw what was happening, that came in. By the time they came in, most issues have been resolved. By then, majority leader was talking to the press. So I was thinking more policemen could have been deployed to ensure that absolute sanity prevailed. But the police were also a bit careful. This is a member of parliament. He's taking a chair and putting it on the table. How do you handle it? So you can see, even in trying to handle that, there was some diplomacy in going about it. So he waits. When the member of parliament puts the chair on the table, then he goes for it. When the member of parliament wants to come for the chair again, then he shields him from taking the chair. It was a difficult situation for them.
Honorable Member, I saw our revered citizen, Honorable Austin Game. Did you see him?
Yes, I saw him. I saw him at the corner.
And what was he doing?
Honorable Austin Game was a visitor. I saw him seated here. So when the whole thing started, initially, he moved in there and tried speaking to, I think, the minority leader and the chief whip, minority chief whip. But my attention was then taken to another member trying to put a chair on the table and trying to pull a table. So I didn't know what transpired again. But I saw him very clearly trying to calm things down.
Chairman, I believe that this revered man should be invited as well to testify, because he's an expert within that space. So I suggest that let's get him to be involved.
Thank you very much.
Honourable Chair, thank you. Honourable colleague, you did mention the crowding in the corridor. Were people's ID cards being checked in order to have access to this building, based on how you managed to access the building? Did you observe people's tags being checked, people's identification tags or invitations being checked?
Thank you very much for the question. I didn't come through the main door downstairs. I came through the back door from annex. And so when I climbed, I saw a colleague on the first floor. So I walked with him. He was going towards the the entrance. So I escorted him to that position before I climbed through that side. So I didn't come through the staircase, through the main entrance, no. So I wouldn't know what security measure was there at the entrance. But when I climbed out, I didn't see any visible visitors' tags on them. And the truth is, some were chiefs with their entourage protecting them. And so when I was trying to push my way through, they saw my tag visibly, but they will not budge, they will not give way. And so I didn't want to push further, so I just went downstairs. I know my way around, so I went down the next floor and then climbed up to the other end. But there were no visible tags on them.
Thank you. My final question. You mentioned that this corridor was packed. Did you find non-members on any other floors as you tried to make your way into the vetting room?
They were on the staircase. Not on the floor, but on the staircase.
There are two sets of staircases. Which one?
The one used through the main entrance.
Correct. Very well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Charles Agbeve, for attending upon this committee. When we need you, we'll call you again. Thank you, and you are honorably discharged. Next time, don't be moving from your seat to go and be... We have two other witnesses here, the Marshal, Deputy Marshal, and then... Oh, you are honorably discharged.
Thank you very much.
You have the Deputy Marshal and the Minister for Fisheries. Deputy Marshal, can you please take your... Then we'll have our Minister finally. I think after the Minister, we will close for the day, and then we'll address the press.
I, Wing Commander Frederick Bauer,
swear by the Almighty God.
Swear by the Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
Touching the matter in issue.
Touching the matter in issue.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much, Wing Commander Frederick Bauer, retired, Deputy Marshal of Parliament. You were here when we played the video.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Wednesday and today.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Did you see Wing Commander Bauer retire in any of the videos?
Mr. Chairman, I did.
So that means that he was here on 30th of January 2025.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Deputy Marshal, can you tell us what happened on that fateful day from your point as Deputy Marshal?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The day in question saw a lot of supporters of nominees filling up virtually every space we had within the parliamentary precincts. In fact, we had noticed it appeared some had even slept over around the funeral grounds areas, and some of these people were prominent people, and I'm even suspecting chiefs. It was that. So on the evening of that day, we had put in place measures to make sure that only nominated people would come up to this room. But then, what we suspected happening, we were coordinating all the efforts we had put in place, but then chiefs would come with entourage. People from the ministries would come, and somehow, they managed to get access up here, even though it wasn't probably the time for their nominee. So we realized that the corridors were getting full. Down there, as we were trying to control, was also getting full. We tried preventing the drumming and dancing within the forecourt just outside the staff entrance. These were the activities happening. But around 21:45, we came up here and noticed that there was some disagreement among committee members as to whether vetting was to continue or vetting was to stop. Now, what my concentration was then to look out for strategies to try and prevent the situation from escalating into fisticuffs. So we're looking around to see what was going to happen and how best we could solve the situation. And in most of the cases, we had to get inside to just try to prevent one MP from getting physical access to the other, because that would then be fighting. That was what we were concentrating doing, and virtually we brought in some of our parliamentary protection units who were then in uniform to come and assist the situation because it was getting chaotic. The table was raised, a leg was broken, and all that stuff. So, Mr. Chairman, basically, that was a bit of a summary of the events of the day.
Thank you very much. I will ask my colleagues to take their bite.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, we saw the videos, and your short testimony says that there were a lot of people around, occupying the whole place, and even the car parks, and then the funeral grounds. All these people who came, the question that I want to ask is, were they all properly admitted into the presence of Parliament? Were they all admitted? Because Parliament, we have a gate, and the gate is supposed to keep people at bay. I have seen people who have come and then you have been able to stop them. Whether they are coming as protesters or they are coming as whatnot, I've seen it. And so that day, the people who came, were they all properly admitted into the presence of Parliament?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, on the day in question, what we tried doing was to prevent buses from busing people right into the compound. But admittedly, the entire parliamentary presence does not belong to us. The state protocol area where funerals are conducted is virtually out of our control. On several occasions, funerals are organized there, vehicles are parked there, and we virtually have no idea. And sometimes these funerals can go deep into the night. So on the question of whether all these people were properly admitted, Mr. Chairman, the whole environment is not ours. Had it been that we have an area carved out called Parliament, then we could probably ensure that strict access is granted into that space. But people are not particularly prevented from walking to the precinct because there are other institutions that we occupy the general area with.
So are you saying that it is not possible for the Marshal Department to put in place any measures to control the area that you would have considered to be the area for Parliament as against the whole area within the presence of Parliament? Do you have any place that you can carve out, and then that is the place where you can say that from this point we are in charge? Do you have any sighting?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We've made proposals, and I'm sure it's being considered by management, but it's still in the drafting point. So if that is considered, I'm sure a team might be constituted to see where best can be carved out and what measures we can put in place to make sure that there's a certain area we can at least have effective control over and put in place the proper access control measures so that uninvited guests are not then find their way into our close perimeters.
Finally, we understand, we have been made to understand as a committee, the cards were issued to allow people to come into this particular place. The rest of the people were left outside, and there was nothing to use in controlling them. Do you think that that particular situation is helpful?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, we reconfigured the foyer down there with a number of chairs. About 200 chairs were organized there with television screens on to transmit this process live for those who were coming and maybe it wasn't their turn to come in. But Mr. Chairman, the numbers we had on that day, chiefs came. I mean, a chief would come with one invitation card, but he had 20 people following him. They are well accosted customarily. Even the police we had put in there to stop them, sometimes, as a matter of traditional courtesy, would end up, giving way for them to come because some of these people were elderly. And that was a challenge. So at the end of the day, they allowed them access up here just to see what was happening because they would tell you they came all the way from Wa, from Damango, and these were the challenges they had down there, even though we had put measures in place to prevent that if you didn't have a card, invitation card, you wouldn't find yourself into this room. But if a chief comes and his entourage is about 15, there's one card. Chiefs do not work alone. Those were the challenges.
And so, would you say that the scheduling of the nominees in terms of the numbers for a particular day contributed to the large number of people who were around?
Mr. Chairman, I may not be able to talk to the scheduling of nominees on that day because my concentration was how best we could keep order here and make sure we don't have things escalating.
Thank you. That will be all for now.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Wing Commander, just out of curiosity, is there an official document that is handed over to the Marshal's Department to inform you of who is to be on the precincts of Parliament on any given day when we have the vetting of any nominees?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The understanding is that only invitees, people who have been given invitation cards, and these cards are supposed to be 10, are the ones allowed into the vetting room to support their nominees. But, Mr. Chairman, this is the people's house. If visitors say they are coming in to visit their MP, it becomes difficult for us, without prior authorization, to deny them that access. What we've noticed is that they say they're coming in to visit their MP, and instead of getting to their MP's floor or office, some of them find themselves here, and some of them, unfortunately, sometimes with the support of the MPs.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll ask the question again. Is there a document that comes to the Marshal's Department with the exact specification of who is meant to be in the appointments room on any given day? Officially, do you have a list of who is supposed to be here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that document counts. But on this particular occasion, I think the certainty of who was to be vetted on the particular day, clarity wasn't there. And what I noticed was that on the Wednesday, we had to go and bring in Oliver Vermaho. In fact, I had to take the summon to him. And so sitting was suspended. Was not done on that particular day. So I suspected that the leftover of the Wednesday were shifted to Thursday, which then increased the numbers, because most of those visitors for Wednesday had already come with supporters who were in the compound already, and where to sleep was a challenge. In fact, when we were going home on Wednesday, myself and my colleague, we realized people were making do with the spaces just to find a place to sleep, and it was pathetic, because most of these were elderly females.
Thank you. So, Honorable Chair, just to state for the record that there wasn't a formal communication to the Marshal's Department stating that there was a shift and there would be more people and who those people were. Is that correct?
Is that correct?
None that I saw. I might need to confer with my colleague to see if he saw that formal communication. But to my person, I did not see that. Because on that Wednesday, it was late when we took the summon to the gentleman who was supposed to appear here. On the other day. So I wasn't back enough to check the mails. So I would then need to confer with my colleague to see.
Please do confirm and let the clerk know before we finalize our report. We want it to be part of the report.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I would like to find out whether, apart from the invitation cards, people who were granted access were given tags or ID cards as proof of having been admitted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That's the normal visitors procedure. Once you enter the precinct, you are directed to the Parliamentary Visitors Center, where some details of yours are taken, and then you are given a visitor's tag. And then you go to the particular floor or particular MP you are looking for. But on this particular said day, I think even way beyond the 1,700 hours that normal visitors come in, others had trunked in. And frankly speaking, they didn't all go through the visitors center to get identification tags. So we kept most of those ones at bay down there and they were in the foyer watching TV and watching the proceedings.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one question. We also a stranger among the peacekeepers. He said he was there as a peacekeeper. Let me ask you, in future, are we safe? Won't we be having more strangers when even Parliament is sitting? Won't we be having them? And two, would you recommend that we move the vetting process to a more secured places, especially Job 600 up there, if we can move the vetting process from this place to a more secure place so that it may restrict the number of people. Naturally, it will be easier to control than an open space like this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I wouldn't say anywhere in Job 600 will be more secure than here. But talking about a more secured venue where crowd control measures could be firmly employed, like I mentioned earlier, we've made a proposal which we sent to our clerk, and it's being looked at. So I'm sure when some consideration is given to it, communication will go up to the board, and maybe it might be considered.
Well, there was a question about a stranger who, as a marshal, you are supposed to provide security to members of parliament as well as the precinct and properties of parliament. You were here when we have to ask a stranger to go and come back on Monday. We saw him visibly moving from one end to the other, to the extent that he was even... Okay, so I'll leave that one. Now, did you notice that there was a stranger in the house?
Mr. Chairman, personally, I didn't until today. The fact is that our security personnel are all not still very familiar with all the MPs, especially the members coming in for the first time. And so we had encouraged all of them to always wear their identification tags. But, Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, some of them just do not wear those tags. Because when you wear those tags from a distance, our security personnel are able to know whether this is a staff, or this is a member of parliament, or this is a visitor. So we'll probably also still use this platform to appeal that even if it's difficult to wear, but we keep encouraging that you just wear it for us, because it's difficult to identify everybody. And myself and my senior colleague, we could not be in one place at all the times. We divided the work. We're going around to supervise the measures we've put in place. So unfortunately, I did not notice that stranger. And in fact, I didn't even know until he appeared this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Marshal, do you think that perhaps your response could have been quicker? When the chaos started and you entered, you were not in the room at that time, were you?
Mr. Chairman, around 21:45 was when we actually got up here because we were controlling some other issues downstairs. And when we entered, what we usually want to do is that arguments and disagreements are allowed in this house because of the democratic dispensation. What we try to do is to prevent physical contacts, fisticuffs. So when we enter and members of parliament are screaming against each other, we diplomatically are unable to assist with that, because if you try, you must walk a thin line, not to be seen as belonging to A or B. And in observing that thin line, we get a bit too careful before we intervene. And when we intervene, we end up putting our bodies in between the two so that they don't have an open fight. But
that still didn't answer my question, whether you think your response was on time or a bit delayed.
Mr. Chairman, it's a very difficult question for me because until there were bangings on the tables and attempts at physical destruction of things, where we now asked in the other uniformed police to come in. But, Mr. Chairman, we had police in civil clothing who work with PPU, they were all in the room. We're all trying to do separations, calm down issues, try to mediate. I had to pull a number of MPs to the adjoining offices just to convince them that there was no need for us to go into this because cameras were watching, and some of it worked. So those are some of the things we're doing behind the cameras and behind the scenes. But as to whether the intervention was early or timely, the difficult thing is that if we move in 20 or 30 policemen into the room, it may be seen as intimidation. It may be seen that you're trying to intimidate the process, and so you are not trying to allow the process to take its normal course. So we do all this balancing, and when we realize it's getting out of hand, then we move in the uniformed personnel.
Okay. Were you given the schedule? In fact, are you given the schedule for vetting? Typically, is your department given the schedules?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are given a schedule for vetting.
So you were given for that day as well?
I explained the circumstances of that day that I would verify with my colleague and get back.
Okay. Do you screen people for, because of the crowd in the corridor and within, did you actually screen people? Somebody may be holding a weapon, a knife, something. Did that take place?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. The challenge with those crowds is just one of the issues the honorable member has mentioned. And we're looking at measures at which, even from the main entrance, all such screening will take place. But like I mentioned earlier, having complete and thorough screening of people from the main entrances to the Princess of Parliament, where we do not completely own, becomes a bit of a challenge.
Okay, so my last question is, as marshals, you see to the whole premises, but there are times when people, even on ordinary days, they come into the lifts and they can meander their way through all the corridors and all that. That also falls within your purview, doesn't it? And what are you doing about that?
Mr. Chairman, it does. Most of our corridors have access doors, which can be opened with your ID card and badges. But respectfully, I don't know about honorable members, but most staff sometimes don't use the access badges to open the doors. And even in some of the floors in Job 600, realize members, because some of them don't wear their ID cards, which have access to open the corridors, the doors are left opened. And so one visitor who says is coming to second floor ends up at the 8th floor. Because ideally, when you go to the visitor center, you are only directed to that particular floor. And there are receptionists on each floor to help you access that particular MP and step out. But the challenge is that the visitor comes and then decides that he has remembered another MP he wants to see on another floor. And then the floor door is opened. So he might just end up getting there. We're trying to put in place measures to make sure we have men on all the floor. But as it is now, because of challenges in manpower and resources, we're not able to effectively man those things to make sure that loiterers then find their way into your lifts and the corridors.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your insight.
Wind Commander Bauer, I have only one question for you. From some of the MPs and witnesses that came, we heard them clearly say that there were press conferences. Some of their colleagues were on TVs mentioning that they were going to grill them. They have two of them who were to be grilled or who do not allow them to go through the vetting. These are all early warning signals. Did you pick that signal yourself?
Mr. Chairman, no, I didn't.
But do you have any intelligence in here that picks signals that there was going to be a chaos on that day?
Mr. Chairman, the intelligence we picked was that we were going to be overwhelmed with crowd. That much we did. So we requested for assistance from the police to give us more men. But even then with that, but as to whether there will be chaos on the vetting room, I would see that as maybe one particular member may be given a lot of questions. We didn't anticipate the chaos being members of parliament getting at each other.
I hope you have reported this to management officially. You've given your report about the situation to management.
Mr. Chairman, that is true.
Okay. So we can get that report too from management to aid us in writing our report?
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's been forwarded to the clerk's office. I don't know whether we'll then have we'll talk to him and see whether we can forward same to you.
No, not from you. We'll talk to the clerk ourselves and pick it from him.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So there was a report on the chaos?
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Wing Commander Bauer, you are humbly discharged. Thank you for attending upon this committee. When we need anything else, we'll call you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We will finally take our sister, the Honorable Minister for Fisheries, who will have to take an oath. But because she was not here when we showed the initial videos, I don't know whether she would like to watch the videos first. Okay.
Sorry.
This is Channel One Television. My name is Nanatufo Boateng, and you're watching our live coverage of that committee hearing, a public hearing by the special committee set up by the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, to investigate the happenings on the night of January 30 and the morning of January 31 at the Appointments Committee, a committee tasked to vet ministerial nominees of His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama. On this said night and in the early hours of January 31, there was a chaos that characterized that process. Just before we came back into the studio, the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture had attended upon the invitation of the committee. A video was being played to her. We believe which video has now ended. She's been able to identify herself. And so let's go back to that committee for the public hearing.
I hope you have watched except of the video, not the full video. Please, did you see a lady who looks like the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture?
Yes, Chairman, it was me.
So, can you tell us what you were doing here on that fateful day?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a member of Parliament, I had one, come here to participate in the process, and two, to support some of the people who were being vetted on that day, especially the Minister for Health. And I think there were a number of other people who were supposed to be vetted that day. So I'd come here to give moral support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So can you brief this committee what exactly you witnessed on that day? In brief, summary.
Thank you very much. I was sitting right here to my right, where this gentleman was sitting. And one vetting had finished, and we're getting ready for the other one, particularly Honorable Akandos. And so the usual practice is the nominee will be invited and will take the oath. So we were like, clerk, administer the oath. And the clerk was straight-faced, and we're can you administer the oath so that the vetting will start? And she said, I recall. She said, no, I am waiting for instructions from my leadership. So we were here, and then by the time I realized there was some noise going on in the front where you are sitting, the next time I see a chair on the table. The next thing I see some of the members of the minority walk over here where Honorable Akando was standing, and they were surrounding him. And that was when I got alarmed because, and then some majority MPs also moved here and shoved the minority MPs away from Honorable Akando, and they took position. So that was when I was talking to some people who were standing there. What is all this about? I mean, I was Parliament. What is all this about?
Were you traumatized?
I was
Or surprised?
I was like, hey.
So,
not frightened. We've seen some before, but I did not, for the life of me, expect that from having just finished one vetting, one person, and we're just moving on to the next person, and suddenly all hell breaks. Don't know what kind of all hell breaks loose, and I was amazed to see a whole member of parliament carrying a chair and putting it on the table. The next time I saw pushing tables away, I saw a microphone being shifted away. I was, and in all of that, what amazed me was the calmness of the clerk. She was so calm, just sitting down, so very professional. I mean, she has class.
Akafante misumaka igwe cho. You seems to not to be clearly here on that day. From your narration, you only witness part and parcels from your narration, even though you were here physically.
I was here, sitting here. And so I didn't quite understand what happened in front there that resulted in the lifting of
Good,
chair.
exactly. That's what I wanted to hear. Now, was there, you just mentioned that you saw some members from the majority side came to the rescue of Honorable Akando. Can you identify those majority from the majority side?
Yes. I mean, one MP from Western North region, when I see him, I'll see him. I know the name, but it's not coming now.
So we'll show you a picture now
Okay.
for you to identify whether he was the one.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it's also in this video. I don't know if I can. Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, one of them is Mr. Nkwa Kwame Pius, the Sefia Kontomra MP. He came by to shove away the minority MPs that had come to surround Honorable Akando. Then there's a second one I can see in the video back. His picture I haven't seen.
Thank you very much for at least identifying one person. Now, honorable colleagues, do you have any question for the witness?
Thank you, Chair. I want to find out. You said the honorable member for Akontomra came to give some protection. Was he under any threat at that time? And who was that person?
So, when the scuffle started, so when it was about the clerk, some of us around were saying to the clerk, administer the oath, and she was like, no, I'm waiting for my leader. And then the front there became, hey, then two minority MPs moved to Akontomra, to Honorable Akando, who was standing here. And I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what was going on in the minds of the majority MPs. But I think then they quickly moved and came and sort of removed the minority MPs away from their colleague, Honorable Akando, and they took position there. I don't know whether it was for protection or whatever, but that's what they did, and I think it's just a natural thing to want to protect your own. Nobody knew what would have happened here as a result of all that carrying of chairs.
So can we also identify those minority members of parliament who moved from their location to where the nominee, can you identify them?
When I see the pictures, I can identify. I remember one fair-colored one. I don't recollect the name, but when I see the pictures, I'll be able to tell. Yeah.
We'd like to show you some pictures if we'll be able to identify that person.
Yes, I recognize Mr. Shaib Ahmed Jerry Wejagbawi. I recognize him being one of the people who came to. His intention for coming to stand by Honorable Akando, I cannot tell, but certainly he was one of them who came to stand by him. And I remember me saying, what are you people doing here? What are you people doing there? Then Pius and the other came and took over.
So that is the second deputy minority whip, one of the members who were suspended and recalled back. Okay. Any other further questions? Yours was so short. Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. We are grateful to you, Honorable Minister. We will call you again when the need arises. You are discharged.
Thank you very much, Chair.
So, honorable colleagues, we have been able to take witnesses, about 10 out of the 18. We have Honorable Ahi, Honorable Konis Dauda, Honorable Dominic Bigna Adana Nitiwo, Honorable Charles Asiedu, Honorable Patricia J, Honorable Pius Kwame Nkwa, who was just identified by Honorable Minister for Fisheries. These are the honorable members who were supposed to appear before us today, Friday, since it was postponed. And they were not able to make it. We've not had any indication from the clerk as to why they will not be able to attend to this committee. And so we would request respectfully that you invite them in addition to the following members of parliament who are supposed to be here on Monday. Honorable Alexander Peño Makin, Honorable Frank Anodompre, Honorable Roxanne Nelson Eche Kwame Dapamakpo, Honorable Jerry Ahmed Shaib, Honorable Al-Hassan Tampoli Suleimana, Honorable Michael Ochri Befi, Honorable Rudolph Amaku Jampa, Honorable Mustafa Yusuf, Dr. Fred Chei Asamoah, Honorable, and then you add again Mr. George Glory Opeku and Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa to witness for him. He is to come with his counsel. On that note, I want to thank all of you. We have come to the end of today's sitting. We will continue with the public hearing, and I want to repeat it again. We'll continue with the public hearing again on Monday, 10 o'clock, to continue with this time around to find out exactly, especially those who are involved in the breaking of chairs, tables, and so on and so forth. And so, members of the media, we will ask and beg of you that Monday you'll be with us. The Clerk of Parliament will also be joining us on Monday as well. We've invited him, and so he should be here because he was visibly seen in the video as well. Thank you very much for coming to cover this investigation, and we hope that by the end of Monday, we'll come to a conclusion and our report will be sent to the Speaker. May I also add that we've requested Mr. Speaker to extend 2 more days. We're supposed to present our report on Monday, but since we have lost 2 days, we requested Mr. Speaker to extend a day, at least give us 2 more days, to Thursday, so that Thursday we can present our report. We thank you all for coming, and God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Okay, so it's been hours of questioning, some witness.
Member of Parliament for Ho West and chairman of that special committee set up by the Speaker to investigate the happenings or the chaos that marred the appointments committee sitting, Emmanuel Bejira, there addressing the media regarding the progress made so far having to do with that investigation. The committee has been tasked to do. It's a 7-member committee. What we know now is that the NPP more or less has recused itself from membership of that committee, and so the NPP does not have representation on that committee. We know that also the clerk has attended to this committee's invitation, and then the marshal and his deputy today have appeared before the committee. Other persons of interest will include notably the Minister Designate for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. Kwabena Minta Akando, Minister Designate for Health, has also been there. Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Emilia Arthur, has also been there. Some members of Parliament have also appeared before the committee. But for me, the highlight is the gentleman that appeared and was unable to establish on whose invitation he was present in that committee sitting room.
Interesting. I'll talk to him about him, but on the minority boycott, I've just seen our parliamentary correspondent sending information that Kwame Nyimedu Entry, who is supposed to be a member of the committee, is saying that they will not go to the committee until the chairman is removed. They said that the chairman is biased. So the NPP side holds a view that the chairman is biased. Emmanuel Bejra is biased. He is prejudiced in a lot of utterances he made in the past. So they are asking the speaker to reconstitute the committee and remove Bejra as chairman.
Right.
So what that means, if we should go by what Kwame Nyimedu Entry has just told journalists in Parliament, is that we should not expect to see NPP MPs on the committee until Bejra is removed as chairman. But that does not mean that the committee cannot.
So now, we'll get into the MPP politics. But let's go back. The chairman, Emmanuel Bejra, is currently speaking to the media. Let's hear what he has to say.
At all. You also what happened. We will continue our work until the speaker says, otherwise. So we'll continue our work.
Chairman, the accusation is that you threatened to beat up some members for which reason they are accusing you that you're biased and you are prejudiced against them.
I threatened to beat who? I quite remember in December when we had, that was in the 8th Parliament, not 9th Parliament, when we sat at the majority side. And a journalist asked me, what happened? Why were you sitting there? I said, we are sitting there because the speaker has given us, or we're there because it was a directive. And so what will you do next time? I said, come and sit on my seat, I'll beat them. Is that a threat? Did I say I'm going to beat them? And have I beaten anybody? As compared to people breaking chairs and tables and removing cables from microphones, no. That is far-fetched. I mean...
Chairman, they are accusing you of seeking to shift the blame on them and that you think they are solely responsible. And just the hinge on your media engagement, your media interviews.
Well, that is for them to decide. But for us, we'll continue our work. Whatever they say, through the press conference, whatever it is, we'll continue our work.
Did you have the commitment from them, as of yesterday, that you were going to be present? I'm talking about the NPP members of the committee, because today they are singing a different tune.
That shows the hypocrisy of our colleagues, because if Honorable Abena be fast yesterday and today they are singing different tune, the best judge are Ghanaians.
Okay,
Do you think the absence takes anything away from
No, at all. We have 7 members committee and 5 of us are here. 2 of them does not mean anything. I mean, we have quorum to conduct business, we have numbers to take decisions, and we'll continue to take our decisions.
Finally, for me, do you have assurance that the members you have invited from the minority side will show up?
We have our constitutional mandate as well as that of our staff order. We'll continue for entire of the videos and what really happened here. And if we call your name, you are not here, we'll show what you did and what they did. And Ghanaians will be the best judge if our report was right or not.
During your last meeting, did the marshal come here to tell you that a speaker is asking that you suspend hearing?
Well, that's the past. We talked about this already. It wasn't marshal at all. It was the clerk who instructed. And we got to know that the speaker did not instruct the clerk to do that. And so the speaker has spoken to the clerk and the clerk has asked us to continue. That's why we are here.
Them as hypocrites, don't you think that flows?
Well, if you were here yesterday and you gave us all the assurance that you'll be here today, and you were here, one of them, actually, who now you are alleging that he has had a press conference, was with us. He even asked questions. Today, he's the same person. I mean, how best will I describe the person if he can tell us? Yesterday, he called me. I saw the call whilst we were engaging, that he would not be able to make it. And then all of a sudden, without talking to me, you went on air that I've been biased. We best describe him.
Has the speaker directed you to hold in-camera sessions?
No, the speaker actually told me in person when he called that we should continue with the public hearing Otherwise, initially, we all agreed that we said the second leg will be in camera, but that has been overruled by the Speaker. So we'll continue with the public hearing.
Thank you. Let's get another member of the committee.
I'm very surprised because Honorable Anyimadu was here, and we were in a meeting when he decided that he wanted to recluse himself because he's had a call from their leadership. Honorable.
All right, Chairman of the committee there, addressing a number of issues that have actually come up, including what we were speaking to earlier, the NPP and its description of the chairman being biased, for which reason they want him replaced before they return to the committee. I don't know if his reaction to that suffices.
So, you know, it's an accusation, trading of accusations back and forth, which is the point I was trying to make to you. So, the minority holds the view that he's biased. He's also saying that whatever he may have said happened during the
8th Parliament.
Yeah, and that was a slim, you know, that time where they took the majority side based on the expulsion of 4 MPs.
4 MPs, yeah.
So he's saying that that is in the 8th Parliament. And truth is, when a parliament dies, it is dead.
Yeah.
That's how come if you offended any of that parliament, you cannot really be punished now by this new parliament. Even bills, sometimes they have to start everything all afresh. Now, as to whether that is so grievous to warrant the minority boycotting, I don't know, but there are various reasons for doing things that MPs do. And boycotts are part of parliamentary procedure. So if they believe that he may not serve their best interest and that he is biased and so they will not be party to it, then that's fine.
Right.
Unfortunately for them, like I was saying earlier, with or without them, the committee can work.
Exactly.
This is not like the 8th Parliament where the thing was neck and neck, where it was a very, very slim majority. Even at that time, whenever the NDC staged the walkout, the NPP stood and did their business. Now, there are 7 committee members, 2 of them are NPP, 5 are NDC. So whether or not you come, it may almost be inconsequential anyway. So that's why you notice that they are proceeding as if nothing is wrong, you know. But I'm saying that for the deepening of our democracy and so that we will get all the views, I thought it was only fair that they were on that committee. But suffice it to say, they've decided that they will not come. Changing Bajra as chairman, I'm not sure is something that would be easily done, because I don't know what consideration Speaker Bagman took before deciding on what he decided. Typically, when committees are set up in Parliament, the minority proposes its people, the majority proposes its people. I remember when the Jogati committee, which investigated the allegation that bribes were paid to, they volunteered, the committee, the 2 sides volunteered
Members,
people. And there was one that was co-chaired, Katie Hammond and the current Attorney General. They co-chaired a certain... Yes, the 2 of them co-chaired a committee at a point. I've forgotten what the committee was supposed to investigate. But then again, down to there was volunteer. However, I've heard MPP people say that in this particular committee, they were not asked their view. And that the Speaker Somoto chose who should be man.
But this MPP that you have heard, is it the MPP minority in Parliament or the MPP party?
MPP party. But then again, MPP party controls MPP minority. That's how come MPP party at Asylum Down decides who should sit in front in chamber. Same with the NDC at Adabraka. So it is what it is. It is a decision of the party, and they said that they endorse the boycott. As to whether they will reverse it will be dependent on the changing of the chairman, but I don't think he will be changed. And so it appears they may not come. However, they can be subpoenaed. And I think the chairman mentioned some people who are going to come next week, and that includes MPP MPs, right?
So you recall earlier I was asking if the decision not to be a member of the committee is reflective on they appearing before the committee, because clearly what we have seen so far are NDC MPs and of course the staff of who have appeared before the committee.
And a stranger.
Yes. And then now per the list that the chairman has announced, you're expecting the minority leader, his chief whip, and some members on his side to appear before the committee on Monday. So, I mean, recusing yourself from membership of the committee, is it applicable to appearing before the committee?
No, clearly not. Clearly not. So you can choose not to be part of the committee, but when you're invited, you've heard. So you notice that at a point, the chairman took the standing orders and was reading it out to the stranger, that they have the powers of a judge at the High Court. And so they have powers to subpoena you, and they can even hold you in contempt over there, and they can even lock you, by asking that the marshal takes you and goes to lock you, and all of those things. So when they invite you and you're a member of, even if you're not a member of parliament, you're obligated to be there.
Right.
That's how powerful that committee is. So I'm sure that they would have to come. As for the stranger, I still find it bizarre. So he shows up, okay, are you the one we saw in the video? Yes, I'm the one. Why were you there? Oh, I heard that Blackwell is coming to be vetted. I'm happy he's my friend, so I also decided to come. Did he invite you? No. Do you have evidence? No. I think there's more. I'm happy he'll come back on Monday. Let's wait to
He's
hear
been
what
asked to
happens
come
on
with a lawyer.
Yeah.
The committee is also inviting Mr. Blackwell back on Monday. We're looking forward to see if the minority members, including their leader, will attend to the invitation of the committee. The committee is also pleading with the Speaker to give them 2 more days in addition, since they have lost 2, to be able to wrap up their work and present their report. We will be here to bring you, of course, that live coverage right here on Channel 1 television. So the names mentioned by the chairman, we're expecting to have about 8 or 9 persons attend to the committee on Monday. And then also there was some clarity, not entirely clear, because I still have issue with that suspension of the committee sitting on the orders of the clerk. Which orders we are being told now did not emanate from the office of the Speaker.
The chairman said it is bygones, let it go. But the
clearly
clerk,
there's more to it.
The clerk said they should suspend the clerk. The Speaker has said it is not true, so they are back. I don't know if clerks have powers to issue such orders.
Exactly. And you said a committee set up by the Speaker.
And I was not here when that happened. Had the person who was before the committee finished giving their evidence before they went, or they suspended the person's evidence, testimony, and went on break? If that's the case, then they should bring the person back.
Yes, it was the clerk to the appointments committee who was before this particular committee.
Did he finish?
I doubt.
Okay.
No,
Or she is a she.
did
Maybe
not.
they should bring her back
she
to
did
continue.
Not, because it was during her testimony
that the
information come. The clerk himself, Jetro, was there. Yes, was there. And then, of course, that intervention came, and then the committee suspended, etc.
Well,
but we're back on Monday to bring you that live coverage of that committee, 7-member committee set up to investigate the chaos that happened at the appointments committee sitting on Thursday, January 30, and in the morning of Friday, January 31. This is Channel 1 Television. My name is Nana Tufo Boateng. I did this with my colleague Umaru Sanda Amadu. Stay with us right here on this channel. Keep watching Channel 1 TV. Good afternoon.